It is 3 in the morning. The house is quiet, settled into that deep, heavy silence that only exists in the hours before dawn. The world outside your window is asleep, and yet you are completely, painfully awake. Your body is heavy with exhaustion, yet your mind refuses to rest. It is a runaway train, careening through a landscape of yesterday's regrets and tomorrow's anxieties. Unfinished conversations play out on a loop, to-do lists unfurl like endless scrolls, and the phantom glow of a digital clock on the nightstand seems to mock you, its numbers ticking forward, each minute a small testament to your failure to find peace. This experience, this silent struggle in the dark, has become a defining symptom of our modern age. It is a quiet epidemic of restlessness, a fever of the spirit born from a life of constant stimulation. We have forgotten the art of stillness. In our search for a solution, we turn outward. We download apps that promise tranquility. We track our sleep with intricate devices. We seek pills that might force our minds into submission. We treat sleeplessness like a mechanical failure, a problem to be fixed with the right tool or the right chemical. But what if the problem isn't mechanical? What if this sleeplessness is not the disease, but a symptom of a much deeper imbalance? What if it is a message, a desperate cry for help from a mind that has been stretched too thin, a spirit that has lost its anchor? There is another path, an ancient way that does not offer a quick fix, but a gentle returning. It does not ask you to fight your mind, but to understand it. This path is found in the wisdom of Buddhism, not as a religion that demands conversion, but as a profound science of the mind, a practical set of tools for navigating the inner world, honed over thousands of years. It suggests that the deep, restorative sleep you long for is not something to be hunted down or wrestled into submission. It is a natural consequence, a gift that arises spontaneously from a mind that is at peace. This journey, the one we are about to begin, is not about fighting the night. It is about learning, finally, to embrace the stillness within. To truly begin our journey towards stillness, we must first have the courage to sit with the noise. We must become gentle diagnosticians of our own minds, observing the inner landscape, not with judgment, but with a quiet, compassionate curiosity. Why is it that when the body craves rest, the mind chooses to run a marathon? The answer is not simple, but it is knowable. It begins with understanding the very nature of our awareness, a nature that ancient Buddhist psychology gave a beautifully accurate name, the monkey mind. Imagine a monkey in a vast forest, restless, agitated, and endlessly curious. It never stays on one branch for more than a moment. It leaps from a branch of memory, a vivid recollection of a conversation from years ago, to a branch of planning, meticulously rehearsing a meeting that might happen next week. From there, it swings to a branch of pure sensation, a slight itch on your foot, and then immediately launches itself to a branch of worry, a sudden, sharp anxiety about your health or your finances. This is the untrained mind. Its movement is chaotic, involuntary, and exhausting. It is a constant, churning flurry of thoughts, images, feelings, and impulses, each one grabbing your attention for a fleeting second before being replaced by the next. This monkey mind is not a flaw in your character, nor is it a sign of weakness. It is the default state of human consciousness, a product of millions of years of evolution that favored a brain capable of constantly scanning the environment for threats and opportunities. In the ancient world, this restlessness was a survival mechanism. But in our modern world, this same mechanism, once a guardian, has become a tyrant. It is a constant internal monologue, a narrator that never falls silent, and its endless chatter is the single greatest obstacle to the deep, descending peace that sleep requires. Sleep is a surrender, a letting go. The monkey mind, however, is an act of holding on, of grasping, of ceaseless doing. It keeps the cognitive and emotional centers of the brain fired up, creating a state of arousal that is the very opposite of what is needed for slumber. When you lie in bed, you are not simply wrestling with a single thought. You are caught in the whirlwind of 1,000 tiny, interconnected mental events, a storm of consciousness that rages in the silence of your room. This inherent restlessness is only half of the diagnosis. The modern monkey is not just restless, it is overstimulated to a degree that is historically unprecedented. It is a monkey that has been fed a diet of pure, uncut agitation from the moment it wakes to the moment it tries and fails to rest. Consider the world we have built. We carry in our pockets a small, glowing rectangle that is a portal to infinite information and infinite distraction. It buzzes, it dings, it notifies us of breaking news from across the globe, of an email from our boss sent at 10 o'clock at night, of a comment a stranger left on a photo we posted. Each of these inputs, no matter how small, is a piece of food for the monkey mind. It is a new branch to swing from, a new object for its frantic attention. The infinite scroll of social media is a particularly potent form of this digital food, designed by very intelligent people to keep our monkey minds hooked, swiping, and engaged, feeding it a constant stream of outrage, envy, desire, and comparison. This constant bombardment does more than just make our minds busy. It has a profound and measurable effect on our physical bodies. It activates our sympathetic nervous system, the ancient fight or flight mechanism designed to save us from predators. Our brains, in their primal wisdom, do not distinguish between the threat of a saber-toothed tiger and the threat of an alarming news headline or a passive-aggressive work email. The response is startlingly similar. The adrenal glands release cortisol and adrenaline, the stress hormones. The heart rate increases, blood pressure rises, and our muscles tense, preparing for a battle that never comes. We spend our days marinating in a low-grade chemical bath of anxiety. We are telling our bodies, over and over again, that we are in danger. Then, when night comes, we lie down, turn off the lights, and expect our bodies to simply switch off this alarm system. But the alarm has been ringing all day. The chemical residue of stress and arousal is still coursing through our veins. The body is primed for action, not for rest. The silence of the night does not bring peace. It simply removes the external distractions, leaving us alone with the physiological echo of a day spent in a state of high alert. This leads us to the third part of our diagnosis, a quiet and often unrecognized form of inner depletion. Imagine your spirit, your core resilience, as a deep well in the earth. This well contains the water of your mental and emotional energy. Every day, through your actions, you draw water from this well. Every decision you make, every email you answer, every worry you entertain, every problem you solve, is a bucket of water drawn out. Our modern lives, with their relentless demands on our productivity and attention, require us to draw from this well at a furious pace. We are constantly giving, doing, thinking, and producing. We are emptying the well. Now, think about how a well is replenished. It is not replenished by frantic action, but by slow, patient processes. It is replenished by rainfall, by quiet seepage, by the gradual accumulation of moisture that sinks deep into the earth. In human terms, this replenishment is stillness. It is rest. It is silence. It is moments of non-doing, of simply being. It is time spent in nature, a walk without a destination, a moment spent just watching the clouds. It is in these moments of receptive quiet that the well of our spirit is refilled. The modern malady, then, is a profound imbalance. We are drawing water from the well at an industrial rate, but we have forgotten how to let it rain. We live in a state of perpetual spiritual drought. We have come to believe that to be still is to be lazy, that to be unproductive is a moral failing, and so our inner wells run dry. When we lie down at night, exhausted from a day of endless drawing, We reach inside for a cup of peaceful, restorative energy to help us drift off, and we find nothing. We find only the dry, cracked earth of a depleted spirit. Sleeplessness, in this sense, is the feeling of that inner emptiness. The restless mind is a mind that has no reserves of peace to settle into. It is a mind that, lacking a deep well of its own stillness, can only skim across the surface of its own frantic activity. This diagnosis of a restless, overstimulated, and depleted mind brings us to a crucial point of understanding, which is best illustrated by an old Buddhist parable. A hunter, wishing to catch a monkey, devised a simple but ingenious trap. He took a gourd, smeared it with incredibly sticky tar, and placed it on a path the monkeys used. Soon, a curious monkey came along and poked the tar with its hand. The hand became stuck. Annoyed, the monkey tried to pull its hand free by pushing against the tar with its other hand. Now, both hands were stuck. In a state of growing panic, it tried to kick the gourd away with its foot, only for its foot to become stuck as well. Desperate, it tried its other foot, with the same result. Finally, in a last, frantic effort, it tried to bite and headbutt the gourd, and in doing so, became completely and utterly entangled, all four limbs and its head hopelessly bound to the tar. The hunter returned and captured the monkey with ease. This parable is a perfect metaphor for our struggle with sleep. The first moment of realizing, I am not sleeping, is like the monkey's first touch of the tar. It is a moment of being stuck. Our reaction is what determines the outcome. We become annoyed. We think, I have to sleep. I have a big day tomorrow. This is the second hand, a thought of aversion and pressure. We begin to worry, what if I can't sleep all night? I will be exhausted. I will fail. This is the first foot, a thought of future-based anxiety. We become angry with ourselves. Why is my body betraying me like this? This is ridiculous. This is the second foot, a thought of self-judgment. Finally, we thrash about mentally, trying every trick we know, tensing our bodies, watching the clock, our minds in a full-blown panic. This is the monkey's head, the final act of frantic struggle. The more we fight, the more we try to force the outcome, the more we struggle against the reality of our wakefulness, the more hopelessly entangled we become. The effort to sleep becomes the very thing that cements us in a state of agitated awareness. We are captured not by sleeplessness itself, but by our very struggle against it. Understanding this diagnosis of a restless mind, a hyper-stimulated nervous system, a depleted inner well, and a self-defeating struggle is the first, most crucial step toward healing. It allows us to shift our perspective from one of self-blame to one of deep compassion. We see that our suffering is not a personal failure, but a shared condition of our time. And now that we have looked with clarity at the nature of this restless monkey mind, we can begin to ask the next logical question. We see it swinging frantically from branch to branch. But what are these branches made of? What are the fundamental forces of desire and aversion that pull and push our minds, keeping them tethered to a world of endless agitation? If the monkey mind describes the chaotic motion of our thoughts, then we must now look at the forces that fuel this motion. We must examine the branches themselves, the fundamental energies that the mind grasps and pushes against, keeping it in a state of perpetual agitation. In Buddhist psychology, these primal forces are sometimes called the three poisons, not to condemn them, but to recognize their capacity to corrupt our peace. They are craving, aversion, and the delusion that weaves them together into personal suffering. These forces are not abstract philosophical ideas. They are invisible ropes that tie us to the spinning wheel of restlessness. And every night, when we lie down and hope for peace, we are unwittingly pulling these ropes tighter. The first and most pervasive rope is craving, or lobha, in the ancient Pali language. This is more than just wanting something. It is a deep, visceral thirst, a leaning, in of the heart towards anything it perceives as pleasant. It is the engine of more, the ceaseless whisper that happiness is just one more acquisition, one more experience, one more achievement away. During the day, this craving is our constant companion. It is the ambition that drives us at work, the longing for a better title or a larger salary. It is the desire for the perfect partner, the perfect home, the perfect vacation. It is the subtle, gnawing hunger for validation we feel when we check our phones for likes and messages. This energy keeps our minds in a state of forward momentum, always chasing the next horizon, forever convinced that true satisfaction lies in the future, never in the present moment. This forward-leaning posture of the mind, this constant state of pursuit, becomes a deeply ingrained habit. We are always reaching for something that is just outside our grasp. When the lights go out, this powerful engine of craving does not simply shut down, it merely changes its object. The mind, accustomed to chasing all day, begins to chase the one thing it now desires most desperately: sleep. The craving for peace, for oblivion, for the sweet release of unconsciousness becomes an all-consuming goal. We lie in bed and we can almost taste the desire for it. If only I could fall asleep, the mind pleads. Then everything would be all right. This thought, which seems so innocent, is the very hook of craving. It creates a powerful duality in our experience. There is the current reality of uncomfortable wakefulness, and there is the imagined paradise of perfect sleep. The gap between these two creates a palpable tension. It is the tension of unfulfilled desire. The more we focus on what we want but do not have, the more acute our sense of lack becomes. It is like dying of thirst while staring at a drawing of water. The craving for sleep, ironically, generates a subtle field of stress and anxiety that is toxic to sleep itself. You can feel it in your body, a slight clenching in the jaw, a tightness in the solar plexus, a subtle readiness in the muscles. It is the posture of a hunter, alert and focused on its prey. But sleep is not prey to be hunted. It is a shy creature that only emerges when the hunter has laid down his weapons and surrendered. If craving is the rope that pulls us toward the pleasant, then its opposite is aversion, or dosa, the rope that pushes us away from the unpleasant. This is the energy of resistance, irritation, frustration, and anger. It is the internal scream of number. It is the friction we feel when reality does not conform to our wishes. During the day, this aversion manifests in countless ways. It is the flash of anger at the driver who cuts us off in traffic. It is the simmering resentment toward a demanding boss or an uncooperative colleague. It is the frustration with our own perceived shortcomings, the irritation at our own mistakes. It is the constant, low-grade battle we wage against the parts of our lives we do not like, the parts we wish were different. This energy of pushing away, of resisting what is, creates a state of internal conflict. It is a declaration of war on reality, a war that is exhausting and can never truly be won. At night, in the quiet of the bedroom, the battleground of aversion narrows, and the fighting often becomes more intense. The targets of our resistance can be external: a dog barking in the distance, the distant wail of a siren, the hum of an air conditioner, or even the gentle sound of our partner's breathing can become the sole focus of our irritation. If only that noise would stop, the mind insists, then I could sleep. We are pushing against the sound, creating a wall of mental resistance that only serves to amplify our awareness of it. But more often, and more destructively, the aversion turns inward. The primary object of our hatred becomes our own state of being awake. We begin to resent our own minds for thinking, our own bodies for feeling. A hot flush, a restless leg, a racing heart, these neutral physical sensations become enemies to be vanquished. We get angry at our anger, frustrated with our frustration. We declare war on ourselves. This internal conflict is a firestorm of stress chemicals. It is a state of profound agitation, the very antithesis of the calm surrender that sleep requires. The mind becomes a hostile, violent place, a battlefield instead of a sanctuary. There is no hope for rest here, for we have become our own adversary. These two ropes, the pulling of craving and the pushing of aversion, are powerful enough on their own, but they are twisted into tight, painful knots by a third, more subtle force, the delusion of a solid, separate self. This is the element of moha, or ignorance. It is the unconscious process by which we take the impersonal energies of wanting and not wanting and weave them into a personal story of failure and identity. The experience is no longer just, there is a feeling of frustration in the body. It becomes, I am so frustrated. The experience is no longer, there is a desire for sleep. It becomes, I am a bad sleeper. This is a crucial and devastating shift. We create and then cling to a narrative identity. We become the insomniac. We tell ourselves and others, I've just never been a good sleeper, or my mind just won't shut off. This story, repeated night after night, becomes a kind of dark mantra, a self-fulfilling prophecy etched into our sense of who we are. We are no longer just a person experiencing a temporary state of wakefulness. We have become a fundamentally flawed character in a drama of our own making. This clinging to a fixed, suffering self is the ultimate trap. It adds layers of shame, judgment, and hopelessness on top of the raw, physical experience of being awake. It is the glue that makes the ropes of craving and aversion stick to us, making them feel like they are part of our very skin. There is a simple, profound image that captures this entire dynamic. Imagine you are on a beautiful, warm beach, and you scoop up a double handful of fine, dry sand. It feels wonderful, and you decide you want to keep it all. You want to possess it. So, instinctively, you do what anyone would do. You clench your fists as tightly as you can, trying to trap the sand, to hold onto it with all your might. And what happens? The tighter you squeeze, the more force you apply. The faster the sand pours out through the cracks between your fingers. Your desperate effort to hold on is the very action that causes you to lose what you desire. But if, instead, you were to simply hold the sand in a gentle, open, receptive palm, most of it would stay, resting peacefully in place. Sleep, and indeed peace itself, is like that sand. The more we crave it, the more we try to grasp it and force it into being, the more our aversion to its absence makes us clench our mental fists, the faster it slips through our fingers. The path to keeping the sand is to soften the hand. The path to finding rest is to release the grasping. We find ourselves, then, bound by these invisible ropes. We are pulled by the desire for what we don't have, and we are pushed by our resistance to what we do have. And this entire struggle is personalized, made into our own private failure by our belief in a solid, unchanging self who is at the center of this drama. We are the monkey, and we are also the tar, endlessly struggling against ourselves. To see this dynamic clearly, without judgment, is to take the first step toward freedom. It is to understand the nature of the trap. The next step is to learn how to loosen the ropes. And for that, we must look at the very nature of the branches they are tied to, and indeed, the nature of reality itself. We must learn the wisdom of the universal law that governs all things, from the stars in the sky to the thoughts in our minds, the law of impermanence. We have seen how the mind is bound by the invisible ropes of craving and aversion, the constant pull of desire and the constant push of resistance. We are caught in a struggle, thrashing against our own experience in the dark. To continue this fight night after night is a path of guaranteed exhaustion. The wisdom of Buddhism does not offer us a stronger rope to win this tug of war. Instead, it offers a universal solvent, a gentle but powerful truth that, when applied with patience, can begin to dissolve the very ropes that bind us. This truth, one of the three foundational marks of existence, is the law of impermanence. In the Pali language, it is called anicca, and while the idea that everything changes might sound simple, or even melancholy, a deep and embodied understanding of it is perhaps the most liberating insight we can ever have, especially when we find ourselves sleepless at 3 in the morning. Impermanence is the non-negotiable law of the universe. Nothing is static, nothing is permanent. Everything that comes into being will, in time, pass away. Look around you. The weather is in constant flux. The solid-seeming mountains are slowly eroding, and the great stars in the sky are burning themselves out over eons. This is also true of our own lives. Our bodies are in a perpetual state of change, cells dying and being replaced with every breath. Our moods shift like clouds in the sky. A song that brings you joy is made of individual notes, each one arising and vanishing in an instant to make way for the next. This continuous flow is the very nature of reality, the source of so much of our human suffering. What the Buddha called dukkha arises from a fundamental conflict. Our minds desperately seek and cling to permanence in a world that is, by its very nature, impermanent. We want our moments of happiness to last forever. We want our youth and health to be unending. And when we are in pain, we fear that our suffering will be a permanent fixture of our lives. Now, let us bring this cosmic law into the quiet intimacy of your bedroom at night. As you lie there, a wave of anxiety might wash over you. Your heart begins to race. Your palms feel clammy. The mind's immediate reaction, driven by aversion, is to solidify this experience. It labels it anxiety, treats it as a solid, monolithic enemy, and begins to fight it. We think, oh no, here it is again, this horrible feeling, it's going to ruin my night. But the wisdom of anicca invites a radically different perspective. It asks us to look closer, to investigate the experience with curiosity rather than fear. Is this anxiety really one solid thing? Or is it a cascade of smaller, fleeting events? There is the sensation of a rapid heartbeat. Is that heartbeat the same from one second to the next? No, it changes. There is a thought. I won't be able to function tomorrow. That thought appears in the mind, and then, a moment later, it is gone, replaced by another. There is a sensation of heat in the chest. Does it stay exactly the same? Or does it pulse, intensify, and then soften? When we look closely, we see that what we call anxiety or frustration is not a solid rock, but a flowing river of constantly changing sensations, thoughts, and feelings. They arise, they shimmer for a moment, and they pass away. They have no inherent solidity. They are transient events. The state of being awake itself is not a permanent sentence. It is a temporary condition, just like any other. This night will end. This feeling will change. To know this in your bones is the beginning of letting go. This deep acceptance of impermanence leads directly to the dissolution of our greatest illusion, the illusion of control. So much of our nightly struggle is born from the belief that we are, or should be, the chief executive officer of our own consciousness. We appoint ourselves the sleep manager, and when sleep doesn't arrive on schedule, we believe it's a management failure. We issue commands to the mind, stop thinking. We give orders to the body, relax now. We try to strategize, manipulate, and coerce our own biology into a state of submission. This belief that we can control the process is rooted in the false assumption that our inner states are fixed, things that can be pushed around and rearranged like furniture. But you cannot command a river to stop flowing. You cannot order a cloud to dissolve. The intricate biological process of falling asleep is an ancient, autonomous wisdom held within the nervous system. It is not governed by the thinking mind, the part of you that makes grocery lists and worries about deadlines. In fact, the very presence of this demanding, controlling manager is a signal to the nervous system that something is wrong, that it needs to stay on alert. The CEO is in the control room, frantically pushing buttons, and this very franticness keeps the entire factory on high alarm. The wisdom of Anika offers us a profound gift, the permission to resign from this impossible job. It allows us to tender our resignation as the CEO of sleep. When we truly see and accept that everything within us is already in a state of constant, uncontrollable flow, we realize that our attempts to manage it are not only futile, but are the primary source of the problem. The invitation is to abdicate the throne, to lay down the scepter of control, and to trust in the natural processes of the body and mind. The body knows how to sleep. It has been doing so for millions of years. Your only task is to stop interfering. It is to create the conditions of safety and surrender, and then get out of the way. This is not an act of passive resignation in a negative sense. It is an act of profound wisdom and trust. It is the understanding that true power lies not in control, but in graceful surrender to the flow of life as it is. So, if we are to resign as the manager and stop trying to control the flow, what do we do instead? The practice inspired by impermanence is to change our position relative to our own experience. Imagine your mind is a great river. The water is the endless stream of your thoughts, feelings, memories, and sensations. For most of our lives, especially during a sleepless night, our habit is to be in the river. We are caught in the current of a powerful, anxious thought and are swept downstream into a cascade of further anxieties. We crash against the sharp rock of a painful memory. We get caught in an eddy of obsessive planning, going around and around in circles. We are at the mercy of the river's chaotic and powerful flow. The practice is to learn how to gently and with great patience pull ourselves out of the water and find a comfortable spot on the riverbank. From this stable, observant position, our job is not to stop the river or clean it up. It is simply to watch it flow by. A thought about work appears, we note it, thinking, and watch it drift past. A feeling of sadness arises, we note it, sadness, and watch it float on by. A sound from the street enters our awareness. We note it, hearing, and let it go. We become the silent, impartial witness to our own experience. We don't judge the river. We don't get angry at it for being muddy. We simply observe its nature. And in this act of non-interfering observation, a miracle occurs. The river, no longer being churned up by our struggles within it, naturally begins to slow down. The sediment begins to settle. The water starts to clear. Peace arises not because we fought for it, but because we finally stopped fighting. There is a classic Zen story that illuminates this perfectly. A proud, learned scholar came to visit a Zen master to inquire about the nature of enlightenment. The master welcomed him and offered him tea. As the master began to pour, the scholar began to talk, endlessly explaining his own complex theories and demonstrating his vast knowledge. The master continued to pour the tea, and soon the cup was full. But he did not stop. He kept pouring, and the hot tea overflowed, spilling onto the saucer and then onto the table. The scholar, alarmed, shouted, "Stop! The cup is full. No more will go in." The Zen master calmly put down the teapot, looked at the scholar, and said, "Like this cup, you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup?" Our minds, as we lie in bed at night, are exactly like that full cup. They are overflowing with worries, with plans, with frustrations, and most of all, with the demand for sleep. We are so full, there is no room for peace to enter. The practice of observing impermanence is the act of emptying our cup, moment by moment. Each thought we see and let go of, each sensation we allow to pass without clinging, is a drop of old, stagnant tea being poured out. It is in this emptying, this letting go, that we create the space for stillness to arise. Understanding this principle is the beginning of wisdom. We see that our suffering is not caused by our wakefulness, but by our resistance to it. It is caused by our clinging to a desire for a different reality. By embracing the truth that all things, including our current state of mind, are transient, we can begin to soften our grip. We can let go of the need for control and instead learn to be a compassionate witness to the ever-changing river of our own being. This insight is the foundation. It is the what and the why, but it naturally leads to a practical question. How exactly do we do this? When the river is raging, how do we find a stable place on the bank to sit? To simply observe requires a stable mind, an awareness that doesn't get swept away. For this, we need an anchor, and the most simple, reliable, and profoundly powerful anchor we possess is always with us, closer than our own skin. It is the rhythm of our own breath. We have arrived at a place of profound insight. We have seen that our struggle is not with wakefulness itself, but with our grasping for a different reality, and that this struggle is futile in a universe defined by constant change. The wisdom of impermanence invites us to step out of the turbulent river of our thoughts and to rest on the bank. But this is easier said than done. The current of the mind is strong, and the habit of a lifetime is to be swept away by it. To find our footing on that riverbank, to remain steady as the currents of thought and feeling flow past, we need an anchor. This anchor must be something simple, something utterly reliable, something that is always available to us in any moment, no matter how agitated we feel. Fortunately, we are all born with such an anchor. It is the breath. The ancient practice of cultivating awareness of the breath, known as anapanasati, is the cornerstone of Buddhist meditation. It is a technique of radical simplicity and profound power, and it is the most direct path back to the present moment, the only place where true peace can be found. Why the breath? Of all the things we could pay attention to, why this simple, repetitive biological function? The reasons are a testament to its elegant wisdom. First, the breath is always with us. From the moment of our birth to the moment of our death, it is our constant companion. You do not need to create it, purchase it, or even seek it out. It is simply there, a freely available object of attention at any time. In the dead of night, when you feel most alone in your struggle, the breath is there with you, a faithful rhythm in the quiet. Second, and most crucially, the breath is always in the present moment. You cannot breathe in the past. You cannot breathe in the future. You can only experience this in-breath as it is happening now, and this out-breath as it is happening now. Our suffering, our anxiety, and our regrets live exclusively in the past and the future. By gently placing our attention on the breath, we are pulling our awareness out of the imaginary worlds of yesterday and tomorrow and anchoring it in the living reality of the here and now. It is a direct antidote to the time-traveling nature of the monkey mind. Furthermore, the breath is wonderfully neutral. Unlike our thoughts, which are often heavily charged with emotiona, worrisome thought creates anxiety. A pleasant memory creates longing. The physical sensation of breathing is, for the most part, just a sensation. It doesn't usually carry a dramatic story with it. This neutrality makes it a stable and calming place to rest the mind, a quiet harbor away from the stormy seas of our emotions. Finally, the breath acts as a natural bridge, seamlessly connecting the world of the mind to the world of the body. It is an unconscious, autonomic process, yet we can consciously feel it and even influence it. It is the place where the tangible and the intangible meet. To focus on the breath is to inhabit your body, to come home to yourself in the most fundamental way. It is to listen to the rhythm of life itself unfolding within you. For all these reasons, the breath is the perfect post to which we can tie the rope of our attention, a steadfast anchor in the midst of the storm. The practice itself is beautifully straightforward. There is no need for a special posture or location. It can be done right where you are, lying in your bed. The invitation is to arrange your body in a position that is comfortable and relaxed. Let your hands rest wherever they feel natural. Let your body feel heavy, sinking into the support of the mattress beneath you. You can gently close your eyes or leave them softly open with a relaxed gaze. The first step is simply to arrive in your body. You might take a moment to feel the points of contact, the weight of your head on the pillow, the feeling of the blankets on your skin, the subtle vibration of the air in the room, and then, gently, guide your awareness to the fact that you are breathing. The most important instruction is this: do not try to control your breath in any way. Your only task is to be the curious, impartial observer of it. You are not the breather. You are the one who is aware of the breathing. Let the body breathe all by itself. Notice its natural rhythm. It may be fast or slow, deep or shallow. Whatever it is perfect. Let it be exactly as it is. Now, to help the mind settle, it can be useful to choose one specific spot on the body to rest your attention. For many, a good place is the tip of the nostrils. Rest your awareness there and simply feel the subtle sensations as the breath enters and leaves. You might feel the coolness of the in-breath as it passes over the skin and the slight warmth of the out-breath. There is no need to visualize anything, just feel the raw physical sensation. Another common and very calming spot is the abdomen. Place your attention on your belly and feel its gentle rise on the in-breath and its gentle fall on the out-breath. It's like resting your awareness on a boat that is being softly rocked by the waves of the ocean. Choose whichever spot feels most clear and comfortable for you, and let your attention rest there. Feel the entire journey of one in-breath, from beginning to middle to end, and then feel the entire journey of the out-breath. There is nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, nothing to achieve. Just this breath, and now this one. Inevitably, perhaps after only a few seconds, you will discover that your mind has wandered. You will find yourself lost in a thought, planning a conversation, replaying a memory, or worrying about the future. This is the most important moment in the entire practice. Your immediate reaction might be one of frustration. I failed. I can't do this. My mind is too busy. It is crucial to understand that the mind wandering is not a failure. It is not a mistake. It is simply the nature of the untrained mind. It is what minds do. The practice is not about preventing the mind from wandering. The practice is about what you do in the moment you realize it has wandered. That moment of realization, that little aha when you notice you've been lost in thought, is a moment of pure mindfulness. It is a victory, not a defeat. In that moment, the practice is to engage in a three-step process of gentle return. First, simply acknowledge where you have been, perhaps with a soft mental note like thinking or wandering. Second, without any judgment or scolding, gently let go of the storyline you were following. You don't need to analyze it or push it away forcefully. Simply release your grip on it. And third, with the kindness you might show to a small child or a puppy, tenderly guide your awareness back to your chosen anchor, back to the feeling of the breath at the nostrils or the abdomen. And then you begin again. In-breath, out-breath, this entire sequence getting lost, waking up, and gently returning is the practice. Each return is like a single repetition in a workout for the brain. It is a bicep curl for the muscles of attention and, most importantly, for the muscle of compassion toward yourself. There is a wonderful old story that illustrates this process. A young boy was given the task of taming a wild, powerful buffalo. He was given a strong rope and shown a sturdy wooden post driven deep into the ground. He tied the buffalo's halter to the post with the rope. At first, the buffalo was furious. It charged and pulled, running to the end of the rope again and again, trying with all its might to break free and run back to the jungle. The boy simply watched, He knew the post was strong and the rope would hold. For hours, the buffalo struggled until, exhausted and defeated, it finally lay down to rest in the shade of the post. After a few days of this, the buffalo learned that its struggle was futile and that peace was to be found by staying close to the post. Our mind is that wild buffalo, full of powerful, untamed energy. The sturdy post is the anchor of the breath. The rope is our mindfulness, our gentle, persistent attention. Every time the mind wanders off into the jungle of thought and we gently guide it back, we are like that boy, patiently teaching the mind that its struggle is unnecessary. We are showing it through repetition and kindness that safety, calm, and rest are found not in running away, but in staying close to its anchor. This practice of anapanasati is not about achieving a perfectly silent mind. It is about changing your relationship with your mind. It is about learning to be its compassionate friend rather than its frustrated master. It is about cultivating a stable inner refuge that is always available to you. The breath is your anchor in the present moment, your safe harbor in any storm. And now that you have this fundamental tool, this way of steadying the mind and grounding yourself in the present, you can begin to use this newfound stability for a deeper exploration. With this calm, anchored awareness, you can start to listen to the other layers of your experience, beginning with the very vessel of your life. You can begin a journey into the stored wisdom, the subtle tensions, and the quiet truths of the body itself. Having found a measure of stability through the simple, profound anchor of the breath, we can now begin to broaden our field of awareness. We can use this newfound steadiness to embark on a journey, not to a distant land, but into the inner landscape of our own physical form. For many of us in the modern world, the body has become little more than a vehicle for the head, a machine we use to carry our brains from one task to the next. We live in our thoughts, disconnected from the subtle and often wise language of our physical selves. This disconnect comes at a cost. The body is not a silent, unfeeling machine. It is a living, breathing archive of our entire life experience. It is the storehouse of our emotions, the unconscious repository of our joys, our sorrows, and especially our stresses. And learning to listen to it with the same gentle, non-judgmental attention we bring to the breath is a foundational act of healing and a direct path to deep cellular rest. There is a profound truth that modern psychology is only now beginning to fully appreciate, a truth that ancient wisdom traditions have understood for millennia. The body keeps the score. Every stress you've endured, every deadline you've rushed to meet, every argument you've had, every moment of fear or frustration, they do not simply vanish once the event is over. They leave an imprint, a residue, in your physical tissues. Think of the unconscious tension that gathers in your shoulders when you are under pressure, creating a feeling of carrying a heavy weight. Think of the way your jaw clenches when you are feeling angry or resentful, a physical echo of biting back unspoken words. Think of the knot in your stomach that accompanies anxiety, a tightening of the very core of your being. These are not just metaphors, they are physiological realities. Over time, this unresolved emotional energy becomes locked into our musculature as chronic tension. We become so accustomed to living with clenched jaws, raised shoulders, and a tight diaphragm that we no longer even notice it. This state of subtle, constant tension becomes our new normal. It is a silent hum of arousal that runs in the background of our lives, making true relaxation feel foreign and inaccessible. The practice of the body scan is a gentle rebellion against this state of numb disconnection. It is an intentional act of homecoming, a process of systematically and kindly re-inhabiting your own skin, and in doing so, giving the body permission to finally let go of the burdens it has been silently carrying for so long. The journey begins, as all these practices do, with a gentle settling, lying comfortably on your back, take a few moments to connect with your anchor, your breath. Feel its gentle rhythm, a steady wave of life flowing through you. And now, as you lie here, see if you can bring your awareness on a long journey down through your body, past your chest, past your abdomen, down through your legs, all the way to your feet. Let your attention come to rest on the toes of your left foot. You don't need to wiggle them or move them. Simply bring your mind there and be curious about what you find. Can you feel the sensation of your big toe, your little toe, all the toes in between? You might feel a sense of warmth or coolness or a subtle tingling. You might feel the pressure of the blanket against them, or you might feel very little, a kind of numbness. Whatever you find, it is perfectly all right. The goal is not to feel something special, but simply to feel what is actually there. Now, as you breathe in, you might imagine your breath traveling all the way down your body to your left foot, filling it with a fresh, oxygenated awareness. And as you breathe out, imagine a softening, a letting go, a gentle release of any tension, any holding, any tightness in your toes. With your next breath, allow your awareness to expand, to include the sole of your left foot. Feel the arch, the ball of the foot, the heel resting against the surface beneath you. Again, just notice the raw sensations, and on the out-breath, invite a sense of release. Let the foot feel heavy, relaxed, and at ease. Continue this journey upward, bringing your kind attention to your left ankle, your lower leg, the shin, and the calf muscle. Breathe into this area and breathe out, letting go. Move up to your left knee, feeling the front, the back, and the space within the joint itself. Then, bring your awareness to your entire left thigh, from the knee to the hip, feeling the large, powerful muscles. This entire leg has worked hard for you. As you breathe out, offer it a deep sense of rest. And now, for a moment, be aware of your entire left leg, from the tips of the toes to the top of the thigh, feeling it tingling with sensation, heavy and deeply relaxed. When you are ready, gently shift your attention across your body, bringing it all the way down to the toes of your right foot, and begin the same patient, gentle journey all over again. Moving from the toes to the sole of the foot, to the ankle, breathing in, awareness, breathing out, softening, journeying up through the right lower leg, the knee, and the entire right thigh. There is no rush. You are simply taking a slow, meandering walk through your own physical landscape. And now, feel both legs simultaneously, heavy, warm, and deeply at rest. They have carried you through your day. Now, you can allow them to be carried. From the foundation of your legs, let your awareness slowly drift upward into the area of your pelvis and hips. This is an area where we often hold deep tension without realizing it. Just feel the weight of your hips, the contact with the bed. On the out-breath, invite a sense of release, of letting the bones feel heavy and the muscles soft. From here, guide your attention to your lower back. For many of us, this is a familiar place of tightness and ache. Instead of resisting any discomfort you find, see if you can meet it with the breath. Breathe into the sensation, bringing a gentle, caring quality of attention to it. And as you breathe out, invite it to soften, even just a little. Continue the journey up your spine, vertebra by vertebra, through the middle back, and up to your shoulder blades, feeling their width and weight. Then bring your awareness around to the front of your body. Let it rest on your abdomen. Feel the gentle, rhythmic rise of the belly on the in-breath and the gentle fall on the out-breath. There is life here. There is softness here. Allow your awareness to fill your entire chest cavity, becoming aware of your heart beating steadily in its center and the lungs expanding and contracting with each breath. Now, let your attention travel down your left arm, from the shoulder, through the upper arm, the elbow, the forearm, all the way to your left hand. Rest your awareness in the palm of your hand. Feel the intricate web of sensations here. Feel each finger from the thumb to the little finger. On the out-breath, let the hand soften completely. Then, repeat this journey with your right arm, patiently exploring every sensation from your right shoulder all the way down to the tips of your right fingers. Feel both arms now, heavy and resting by your sides. Bring your awareness to your neck and throat, another common storage area for tension. Invite the muscles in your neck to soften, allowing your head to feel heavy and fully supported by the pillow. And finally, bring your awareness to your face. Let your attention gently sweep across your jaw, inviting it to unclench. Let your tongue rest softly in your mouth. Allow the tiny muscles around your eyes to smooth out and release. And finally, bring your awareness to your forehead, inviting it to become wide, open, and smooth. For a final moment, expand your awareness to include your entire body, from the soles of your feet to the crown of your head, as one single unified field of sensation. Feel the whole body breathing. There is no separation. The entire body is a living, breathing organism, pulsing with a quiet, vibrant energy. It is like a garden that you have just tended to, walking through it with care, gently noticing what is there, and offering the nourishing water of your kind attention to every part of it. You have come home. You have re-inhabited your body, not with force, but with gentle permission. This deep, cellular relaxation is a powerful antidote to the restless energy of the mind. We have used the anchor of the breath to steady ourselves. We have used that steadiness to journey through the body, inviting it to release its hidden burdens. We have calmed the mind and we have soothed the body. But what of the heart? What happens when, even in this state of deep relaxation, a wave of fear or loneliness or frustration arises? Now that we have built a stable foundation of calm, we are ready to turn toward these powerful emotions, not with fear, but with a medicine specifically designed to heal the heart, the gentle, transformative power of loving kindness. With the mind gently anchored to the breath and the body settled into a state of deep somatic rest, we have created a safe and stable container. We have quieted the noise and soothed the physical tension. But what of the heart? What of the subtle emotional currents that can still disturb our peace, even when the body is relaxed? In the silence of the night, the heart can speak its own language of fear, of loneliness, of frustration, or of a deep, nagging self-criticism. To fight these feelings is to return to the exhausting battle we have just learned to abandon. Instead, the Buddhist path offers a different approach, a practice that does not fight the darkness, but rather fills the space with light. It is a powerful medicine for the heart, a way to actively cultivate an inner climate of warmth and safety. This practice is known as metta, or loving-kindness meditation. It is not a passive, sentimental feeling, but a courageous and intentional act of well-wishing that can fundamentally transform our relationship with ourselves and the world. The essence of metta is profoundly simple. It is the sincere and unconditional wish for well-being. It is a form of love that is untethered to whether we like someone, whether they please us, or whether they meet our expectations. It is a boundless benevolence, a recognition of the simple truth that all beings, just like ourselves, wish to be happy and free from suffering. The power of this practice lies in a basic principle of the mind. It is nearly impossible to hold two contradictory emotional states at the same time. You cannot simultaneously feel the expansive warmth of genuine loving kindness and the constricted coldness of fear. You cannot feel heartfelt goodwill and, in the same moment, feel the burning heat of anger or the bitter taste of resentment. By consciously and systematically cultivating the seeds of kindness, we actively displace the weeds of ill will. We are not suppressing our difficult emotions, but rather changing the very soil of the mind so that they have no fertile ground in which to grow. It is a practice of emotional hygiene, of generating an inner resource of warmth that we can turn to in moments of difficulty. The practice does not begin by waiting to feel loving. It begins by planting the seeds, by gently repeating phrases of well-wishing. The feeling of warmth is the flower that grows from these seeds, not the other way around. The journey of metta begins in the most intimate, and often the most challenging, territory of all, our own heart. The practice is to offer these phrases of loving kindness to ourselves. For many of us, particularly in a culture that often equates self-criticism with self-improvement, this can feel incredibly awkward, undeserved, or even selfish. The inner critic may immediately object, listing all the reasons why we are unworthy of our own kindness. It is essential to meet this resistance with gentleness. The logic of metta is simple. You cannot pour water from an empty vessel. We cannot offer genuine, sustainable kindness to others if our own inner well is dry. Learning to offer kindness to ourselves is not a selfish indulgence. It is a necessary act of replenishment. It is filling our own cup so that we have something to share. So, let us begin. Lying here, in this state of relative calm, you might wish to place a hand gently over the center of your chest, a simple gesture of warmth and connection to your own heart. And then, silently, in the privacy of your own mind, you can begin to offer yourself these phrases. The traditional phrases are a good starting point, but feel free to adapt them so they resonate with you. Let's try them. As you breathe in, you might say to yourself, "May I be safe." And as you breathe out, you let that wish settle. Breathing in, "May I be healthy." Breathing out, letting it land. Breathing in, "May I be happy." Breathing out, letting the wish permeate your being. Breathing in, "May I live with ease." Breathing out, a sense of deep peace. Repeat these phrases slowly, rhythmically, like a gentle inner lullaby. Do not worry about manufacturing a feeling. Your only task is to sincerely make the offering. Just repeat the words with as much gentle intention as you can muster. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I live with ease. It may feel mechanical at first, and that is perfectly fine. The intention is the seed. You are planting it in the soil of your heart. When you feel ready, the next step is to expand this circle of kindness. Let go of the focus on yourself and bring to mind a benefactor or someone for whom you have easy, uncomplicated feelings of love and appreciation. This might be a close friend, a beloved family member, a mentor, or even a cherished pet. Picture them clearly in your mind's eye. See them happy and smiling. Hold that image gently in your heart, and now begin to offer the phrases of metta to them. Direct the energy of your well-wishing toward them. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with ease. Notice how it feels to offer this gift of kindness. Often, it is easier to feel warmth for others than for ourselves. Allow any feelings of appreciation or joy to arise naturally. You are strengthening your heart's capacity for selfless love. After spending some time with this loved one, the practice stretches our capacity further. Gently let go of their image, and now bring to mind a neutral person. This is someone you see in your daily life, but have no strong feelings about one way or the other. It could be the cashier at the supermarket, the person who delivers your mail, or someone you pass on your commute. You may not even know their name. Bring their face to mind and offer them the very same wishes. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live with ease. This may feel strange at first, but it is a powerful step. It is the practice of recognizing the humanity in a stranger, of seeing that they, too, just like you and your loved ones, wish to be happy and free from harm. This practice helps to dissolve the walls of indifference that we so often build around ourselves, connecting us to the wider human family. The final stage of this practice is the most challenging, and it should always be approached with care and is entirely optional. If you feel ready, you can bring to mind a difficult person, someone with whom you have conflict or tension. The purpose here is not to condone any harmful actions they may have committed, nor is it to force a reconciliation. The purpose is to free your own heart from the poison of anger and resentment. Holding on to hatred is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. So, if you can, hold this person's image in your awareness. Recognize that their actions likely come from their own deep suffering and confusion, and see if you can offer them a sliver of this same goodwill. May you be safe, may you be happy, may you find peace. This is perhaps the most profound act of self-compassion, for in releasing them from your anger, you are releasing yourself from its prison. Finally, let go of all individuals. Allow your awareness to expand, and let this feeling of loving kindness radiate outwards from your heart in all directions. To everyone in your building, your city, your country, to all beings on this planet, human and animal, big and small, seen and unseen, may all beings be safe. May all beings be happy. May all beings live in peace. There is a powerful story from the life of the Buddha that illustrates the force of metta. The Buddha's jealous cousin, Devadatta, conspired to assassinate him by releasing a ferocious, intoxicated elephant named Nalagiri directly in his path. As the elephant charged, trumpeting with rage, the Buddha's followers panicked, but the Buddha stood his ground, calm and unafraid. He did not prepare to fight or to run. Instead, he radiated an immense and powerful energy of pure, unconditional loving kindness directly at the raging animal. The elephant, which could not be stopped by force, was completely overcome by this wave of benevolence. Its charge slowed to a walk, its aggression melted away, and it approached the Buddha and knelt before him, tamed not by power, but by love. Each of us has raging elephants within our own minds. The elephant of fear, the elephant of anger, the elephant of self-hatred. We cannot conquer them by fighting them. Our only hope is to soothe them with the boundless, transformative power of metta. This practice is a way to actively change our inner weather, to cultivate a heart that is resilient, open, and safe. It provides a warm, healing balm for the anxieties and fears that keep us awake. But even within this field of kindness, specific, habitual, negative thoughts can still arise. They are like stubborn weeds that push through even the most well-tended garden. How do we relate to these individual thought forms when they appear, without getting caught in their thorny vines and dragged away from our peace? How do we observe them without believing them? Having cultivated a heart of loving kindness, we create a warm and spacious inner environment, a sanctuary of goodwill. Yet, even in the most beautiful sanctuary, old, habitual visitors may still appear at the door. These visitors are our thoughts. They arrive unannounced, a stream of memories, worries, plans, and judgments, each one vying for our attention, each one eager to tell us its story. For most of our lives, we have been completely captivated by these stories. We believe them without question. We mistake the voice of the narrator for our own. If a thought of fear arises, we become fearful. If a thought of sadness appears, we become sad. But what if this is a profound misunderstanding of who we are? What if we are not the thoughts, but the space in which the thoughts arise? Learning to make this distinction is the key to finding freedom from the tyranny of the racing mind. It is about learning to be a gracious host to these nightly guests, rather than their prisoner. The most liberating insight in the practice of mindfulness is this: you are not your thoughts. This statement is so simple, yet so radical, that it can take a lifetime to fully absorb its implications. Let us use a classic and powerful metaphor. Imagine that your true nature, your core consciousness, is like the vast, open, limitless sky. It is inherently clear, peaceful, and boundless. It has always been here and will always be here. Your thoughts, emotions, and sensations, on the other hand, are like the clouds. They are transient weather patterns that drift through the sky. Some days, the sky is filled with white, fluffy clouds of happiness and joy. On other days, dark, heavy storm clouds of anxiety or anger roll in. Sometimes, the clouds are so thick and dense that you can't even see the blue sky. You might forget it's even there. This is the state most of us live in. We have become so identified with the ever-changing weather of our minds that we have forgotten that we are the sky. When a dark cloud appears, we say, "I am anxious." We have fused our identity with the cloud. We believe the weather is who we are. The practice of mindfulness is the revolutionary act of shifting your identification from the cloud to the sky. It is the steady cultivation of the awareness that you are the vast, open, accepting space through which all of these mental and emotional events pass. The clouds can never stain the sky. A storm cannot harm the sky. The sky simply holds the storm, allowing it to be what it is, knowing that it, too, will eventually pass. When you begin to rest in this sky-like awareness, your relationship to your thoughts changes completely. You no longer have to push the bad thoughts away or cling to the good ones. You can see them for what they are, impersonal, impermanent events, arising and ceasing in the vast space of your own consciousness. A thought is just a thought. It is not an order. It is not a fact. It is not you. This realization creates a profound sense of inner space and freedom. The storm may still be raging, but you are no longer lost inside it. You are the stillness that holds the storm. To turn this profound insight into a practical, moment-to-moment skill, we can use a simple but powerful technique called mental labeling. Labeling is a way of formalizing your role as the impartial observer, the scientist of your own inner world. It allows you to acknowledge a thought without getting entangled in its narrative. The practice works like this. As you lie there, resting your attention on your breath or in your body, you will inevitably notice that your mind has been carried away by a thought. The moment you notice this, you have already woken up. Instead of criticizing yourself or diving back into the story, you simply and gently apply a soft mental label to the category of thought you were just lost in. For example, if you were caught in a spiral of worry about a presentation at work tomorrow, instead of following that story further, you would just softly note in your mind, planning or worrying. If you were replaying an argument you had earlier in the day, you would just note, remembering. If you were criticizing yourself for not being asleep yet, you would note, judging. The labels should be simple, neutral, and used with a light touch. Other useful labels might be fantasizing, doubting, analyzing, hearing, if you get distracted by a sound, or feeling, if a strong sensation pulls your attention away. The act of labeling does something truly magical. It creates a pause. It short-circuits the story. By naming the type of thought, you step out of the role of the protagonist and into the role of the audience. You are no longer lost in the drama. You are simply noting what kind of drama it is. This simple act depersonalizes the experience. It's no longer my terrible anxiety that is ruining my life. It is simply worrying. You see it as a common, impersonal mental event, a habit of the human mind. This creates a small but vital pocket of space between you, the silent, observing sky, and the thought, the passing cloud. And in that space lies your freedom. With each label, you are gently unhooking yourself from the thought, letting it go, and then tenderly guiding your attention back to your anchor, the breath. This practice of detached observation and gentle labeling can be beautifully understood through the wisdom of the 13th century poet, Rumi, in his famous poem, The Guest House. He invites us to see our human being as a guest house. Every morning, he says, there is a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Our typical response is to be a terrible and fearful host. When the dark and difficult guests like sadness or fear arrive, we panic. We try to lock the door. We hide from them. We grab a broom and try to violently sweep them out, demanding they leave. But this struggle is exhausting, and it never works. The more we resist them, the louder they bang on the door, insisting on being heard. Rumi suggests a radically different approach. Radical hospitality. He says to welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. This is a profound instruction for our practice. When a difficult thought or a painful emotion arrives in the middle of the night, instead of fighting it, see if you can meet it at the door with a courageous and gracious heart. When anxiety arrives, instead of saying, "Go away," you can metaphorically say, "Ah, anxiety, I see you are here. Welcome. Come in and have a seat. I will not fight you tonight. I will listen." You treat the difficult thought not as an intruder, but as a messenger. It may be a confused or misguided messenger, but it is carrying some energy that needs to be acknowledged. You bring the same compassionate, observant awareness to the thought that you brought to the sensations in your body. You watch it. You feel where it lives in your body. You listen to its story without necessarily believing it. The great paradox is that when a thought or feeling is met with this kind of unconditional acceptance, it often loses its power. The struggle is its fuel. When you lay down your weapons and offer it hospitality, it often delivers its message, feels seen, and, in its own time, shows itself out the door. The dark thought, Rumi says, may be clearing you out for some new delight. So we see a clear path for working with the mind. We learn to rest as the sky, not the clouds, understanding that we are the changeless awareness in which all experience happens. We use the practical tool of labeling to gently unhook ourselves from the stories of our thoughts, creating space and perspective. And we cultivate the heart of a gracious host, welcoming all our inner guests with a courageous hospitality, knowing that each one has something to teach us. This practice transforms the mind from a battlefield of resistance into a peaceful and welcoming home. This profound inner work, this repatterning of our relationship to our own consciousness, is the heart of the matter. But this inner transformation can be greatly supported and strengthened by our outer world. To create a sanctuary of peace within, it is wise to first create a sanctuary of peace without. The habits and the environment we cultivate in the hours before sleep can send a powerful signal to the body and mind, preparing the ground for the deep rest we seek. The profound inner work of befriending our minds and hearts is the very essence of this path. We learn to rest as the sky, to host our thoughts with kindness, and to fill our inner space with a gentle, loving awareness. This internal practice is the cause of our freedom. But like a delicate plant, this inner practice is deeply affected by the environment in which it is trying to grow. Our outer world is not separate from our inner world. It speaks to our nervous system constantly. A chaotic, cluttered, and overstimulated environment sends a continuous message of stress and urgency to our brains. A calm, ordered, and intentional environment sends a message of safety, peace, and permission to rest. Therefore, to truly support our journey toward deep sleep, we must extend our practice outward. We must learn to consciously shape our physical space and our evening habits, transforming the simple act of preparing for bed from a routine chore into a sacred ritual of stillness. Let us begin with the space itself, your bedroom. For many of us, the bedroom has become a multi-purpose command center. It is an extension of the office, a movie theater, a dining room, and a hub for scrolling through the digital world. This is a recipe for confusion in the nervous system. The most powerful step you can take in creating a sanctuary for sleep is to dedicate the bedroom to two purposes only: rest and intimacy. When you begin to associate the room exclusively with relaxation and rejuvenation, the simple act of walking through the doorway becomes a powerful psychological trigger, signaling to your entire being that the time for doing is over and the time for being has begun. This means creating firm boundaries. There should be no working in bed, no answering emails, no stressful phone calls. These activities bring the energy of the day's problems and pressures into the very space you are asking to be a refuge from them. Consider the physical atmosphere of the room. A cluttered space often contributes to a cluttered mind. The simple act of tidying up before you begin your evening wind down, of creating a sense of external order, can have a surprisingly powerful calming effect on your inner state. Then, attend to the senses. Our bodies are ancient biological organisms, and they respond to primal cues. Darkness is perhaps the most important cue for sleep. The hormone melatonin, which governs our sleep-wake cycle, is produced in darkness and suppressed by light, especially the blue spectrum light emitted by our phones, tablets, and televisions. Creating a truly dark environment by using blackout curtains or a comfortable eye mask is not a minor tweak. It is a direct biological intervention that supports your body's natural desire to sleep. Likewise, our bodies are designed to sleep better in a cool environment. A slight drop in core body temperature is another powerful signal for sleep. A quiet space, free from abrupt noises, is also essential for allowing the nervous system to move from a state of vigilance to one of deep relaxation. Using earplugs or a white noise machine can help create a consistent, peaceful sonic blanket. By consciously curating the light, temperature, and sound of your room, you are creating a kind of cocoon, a safe, protected space where the vulnerable process of surrender can unfold. With the physical sanctuary prepared, we can now turn our attention to crafting a personal ritual. A ritual is simply a sequence of actions performed with intention, designed to mark a transition from one state to another. We are seeking to transition from the high-speed, externally focused energy of the day to the slow, internal, receptive energy of the night. Think of it as creating a landing strip for the airplane of your consciousness. An airplane flying at 30,000 feet cannot simply land. It needs a long, slow, gradual descent. Our evening ritual is this landing strip. The first and most critical part of this ritual is creating a digital sunset. You must decide on a time, perhaps an hour or even 90 minutes, before you intend to sleep, when all screens are turned off. This is a non-negotiable act of self-care. It is not just about avoiding the blue light. It is about protecting your mind from the content. The news, social media feeds, and late-night work emails are all forms of mental and emotional agitation. They are stimulants. You would not drink a cup of coffee before bed. Viewing this kind of content is like pouring a cup of digital coffee directly into your brain. Putting your phone away, perhaps even in another room, is a powerful declaration that your peace is more important than your connectivity. Once the screens are dark, you can begin to weave together a sequence of calming activities that speak to you personally. The goal is to soothe the senses and quiet the mind. You might engage your sense of warmth with a hot bath, perhaps with Epsom salts and a few drops of lavender essential oil, which relaxes the muscles and initiates the body temperature drop conducive to sleep. You could engage your sense of taste by slowly sipping a warm, non-caffeinated herbal tea, like chamomile, passion flower, or valerian. The act of holding the warm mug and mindfully sipping is a meditation in itself. You can engage the body through gentle, restorative stretching or a few simple yin yoga poses, breathing into any areas of tightness and allowing them to release. You could engage your sense of sight by reading from a physical book, choosing something that is nourishing for the spirit, like poetry, gentle fiction, or wisdom literature, rather than a stimulating thriller. You might also choose to engage the mind in a gentle, closing of the day practice. This could involve journaling, writing down any lingering thoughts or worries from the day in a process often called a brain dump. Getting these worries out of your head and onto a piece of paper can create a sense of completion, allowing you to let them go until morning. Following this, you could spend 2 minutes writing down 3 specific things you were grateful for during the day. This simple practice has a profound effect, shifting the mind's focus from what is wrong or lacking to what is good and abundant, creating a feeling of contentment that is a beautiful prelude to sleep. What transforms these simple actions from a mere checklist of sleep hygiene tips into a sacred ritual is the quality of attention you bring to them. This is the alchemy of intention. If you rush through your stretching while planning tomorrow's schedule, or chug your tea while ruminating on a past event, the benefit is lost. The invitation is to perform each part of your ritual with the same mindful presence you have been cultivating in your meditation practice. When you are drinking your tea, just drink your tea. Feel its warmth in your hands. Notice its aroma. Taste its flavor on your tongue. When you are reading your book, just read the book. Feel the texture of the paper. Absorb the words. You are infusing these mundane activities with a quality of sacredness. You are consciously and deliberately slowing down. You are signaling to your entire being on every level, physical, mental, and emotional, that you are now entering a different kind of time. This is no longer the world of doing, achieving, and striving. This is the world of being, releasing, and receiving. This is the energetic shift from outer engagement to inner renewal. There is a story told of a Zen master who was asked by a student, "What is the difference between an ordinary person and an enlightened one?" The master replied, "When an ordinary person eats, they are thinking of 1,000 different things. When an enlightened person eats, they just eat." The actions are the same, but the quality of awareness transforms the experience from a distraction into a meditation. The master's careful, attentive cleaning of his bowl after each meal is not a chore, it is a sacred act. In the same way, our evening rituals can be our bowl cleaning. We can perform them mindlessly, as just one more thing to get done before we can finally collapse into bed. Or we can perform them with presence, with intention, and with care, transforming the act of preparing for sleep into a profound practice of loving self-care. By carefully curating our physical space, we create a sanctuary. By intentionally crafting an evening ritual, we create a gentle sloping pathway into rest. We prepare the outer ground so that the inner work can flourish. We create a powerful, supportive container for our mind to settle and our body to heal. But this profound sense of peace and presence should not be something we only experience for the last hour before we fall asleep. The quality of our night is, in truth, a direct reflection of the quality of our day. The final piece of this puzzle is to learn how to weave this sacred quality of attention, this mindful presence, not just into our rituals, but into the very fabric of our waking lives. We have learned to create a sanctuary in our bedroom and a sacred ritual to mark the end of our day. These are powerful practices that create a container for peace, a gentle on-ramp to the state of rest. But if we live our entire day in a frantic, scattered, and unconscious manner, and then hope that a 1-hour ritual will magically undo 16 hours of accumulated stress, we are asking too much. The quality of our sleep at night is a direct and honest mirror of the quality of our attention during the day. A day lived in haste, in a state of perpetual distraction and low-grade anxiety, will inevitably ripen into a night of restless thoughts and agitated energy. To find true, deep peace in the darkness, we must learn to cultivate moments of peace in the light. The practice of mindfulness is not meant to be confined to a cushion or to the last few minutes before bed. Its true power is unleashed when we weave it into the very fabric of our ordinary, everyday lives. Think of your nervous system's energy like the momentum of a large, heavy train. If you spend your day at full throttle, rushing from task to task, multitasking with your phone buzzing beside you, constantly reacting to the demands of the world, you are building up an incredible amount of momentum. The train is flying down the tracks. It is unreasonable, then, to expect that you can simply pull the emergency brake at 10 o'clock at night and come to an immediate, peaceful stop. The momentum will carry you forward. The energy of the day will continue to vibrate through your system long after the lights are out. The mind will continue to race because that is the speed at which it has been trained to operate all day long. The work of preparing for a peaceful night does not begin in the evening. It begins the moment you wake up. By learning to bring mindful attention to the simple, mundane activities of our day, we are not adding another task to our to-do list. We are fundamentally changing our mode of being. We are gently applying the brakes throughout the day, dissipating stress as it arises, preventing that massive, unmanageable momentum from building up in the first place. We are sowing seeds of stillness all day long so that we may harvest the fruit of deep rest at night. The beauty of this approach is that it does not require you to find extra time in your already busy schedule. It asks you to transform the time you already have. Let us start with one of the most common activities: eating. For most of us, a meal is something we do while doing something else. We eat at our desks, in front of the television, or while scrolling through our phones. We barely taste our food, and we barely notice when we are full. This is a missed opportunity for practice. Try, just for one meal, to practice mindful eating. Put your phone away, out of sight. Turn off the screen. Sit down with your plate of food, and just for a moment, look at it. Notice the colors, the shapes, the textures. Take a moment to acknowledge the long journey this food has taken to reach your plate. Then, as you take your first bite, do so with your full attention. Chew slowly. Notice the explosion of flavors in your mouth. Is it sweet, salty, sour, bitter? Notice the texture of the food. When you swallow, feel the sensation of it moving down your throat. Put your fork down between bites. This simple act turns eating from a mechanical act of refueling into a rich sensory meditation. It calms the nervous system, improves digestion, and grounds you completely in the present moment. Let's take another common activity: walking. We are always walking somewhere, from the car to the office, from our desk to the kitchen, down a hallway. Usually, our bodies are walking, but our minds are a million miles away, lost in thought. We can transform this simple movement into a powerful grounding practice. As you walk, intentionally bring your attention down out of your head and into the soles of your feet. You do not need to walk in an exaggerated slow motion. Just walk at a normal pace, but feel the sensations. Feel your heel making contact with the ground. Feel the way your weight rolls across the sole of your foot. Feel your toes pushing off to begin the next step. Sync your awareness with this simple, rhythmic, physical sensation. Heel, ball, toes. Heel, ball, toes. Every step becomes an anchor, pulling you back into your body and back into the present moment. You are not just a mind being transported by a body. You are a fully integrated being, walking on the earth. This practice can be done anywhere, for any length of time, and it is a potent antidote to the feeling of being scattered and lost in thought. This principle of bringing full attention to a simple task is perhaps best captured in a famous teaching from the Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh. When asked by a student how to practice mindfulness, he replied, "When you wash the dishes, wash the dishes." This means that while you are washing the dishes, you are not thinking about the email you have to send, or ruminating on a conversation, or planning your weekend. You are fully present with the act of washing. You feel the warmth of the water on your hands. You see the light glinting in the soap bubbles. You hear the sound of the water running. You feel the smooth, clean surface of the plate in your hands. The purpose of washing the dishes is not to get to the end of the chore. The The purpose of washing the dishes is to wash the dishes. In that moment, washing the dishes is the most important thing in the universe. This profound shift in perspective can be applied to almost any activity. When you brush your teeth, feel the bristles on your gums. When you fold laundry, feel the texture and warmth of the fabric. When you take a shower, feel the water on your skin. Each of these moments, which we normally rush through on autopilot, becomes an opportunity to come home to ourselves, to practice being present. Even with the best of intentions, it can be difficult to remember to be mindful during a busy and demanding day. This is where the practice of the micro-pause can be incredibly helpful. This is not a formal meditation session. It is a momentary, intentional reset button that you can press at any time. The practice is to consciously create tiny gaps of stillness in the flow of your day. You might decide to do it every time you finish sending an email, or every time you get up from your chair, or every time the phone rings. Whatever the trigger, the action is the same. You simply stop. For just a moment, you interrupt the momentum of doing. And in that stop, you take 3 slow, conscious breaths. On the first breath, you might simply acknowledge what you are feeling in your body. On the second breath, you can focus on the physical sensation of the air entering and leaving your nostrils. And on the third breath, you can consciously allow your shoulders to drop, releasing any tension you might be holding. That's it. It takes perhaps 10 seconds, but the cumulative effect of scattering these tiny islands of peace throughout your day is immense. You are repeatedly breaking the spell of unconsciousness. You are preventing the stress from building up to a critical level. You are reminding yourself again and again that you are more than your to-do list, more than your anxieties. You are reminding yourself to come home. By infusing our daily lives with these moments of presence, we change our entire orientation. We are no longer living in a way that generates a massive stress debt, which we then desperately hope our sleep will repay. We are instead practicing a kind of ongoing mental and emotional hygiene, cleaning and clearing our inner space as we move through the day. We are transforming our entire life into our practice. The result is that when we finally do begin our evening ritual, we are not starting from a deficit. We are arriving at the landing strip, already moving at a slower, more graceful speed, ready for a peaceful descent. This daily practice builds a profound baseline of calm and resilience. It equips us to handle the normal pressures of life with greater ease and presence. But life, as we know, does not always present us with normal pressures. Sometimes, we are faced with great waves of emotion, powerful and overwhelming experiences of grief, anger, or fear. How does our practice prepare us to meet these moments without being totally swept away? How do we hold a space for even the most difficult storms of the heart? By weaving threads of mindfulness into the fabric of our day, we cultivate a baseline of calm, a greater capacity to stay present through life's ordinary currents. This practice creates resilience, but life, in its unpredictable wisdom, will inevitably present us with more than gentle currents. It will bring storms, great waves of emotion, like intense anger, profound sadness, or paralyzing fear, can rise up and threaten to capsize our small boat of awareness. Our instinctive reaction to these storms is twofold. Either we try to suppress them, to pretend the wave isn't there, pushing it down with all our might, or we become completely consumed by them, identifying so fully with the emotion that we become the storm itself. Both paths lead to suffering. Suppression traps the toxic energy within us, where it festers and poisons our peace, often erupting at night as anxiety or physical pain. Being consumed by the storm simply means we are swept away, lost in a sea of reactivity. The Buddhist path offers a third way, a middle path. It is the art of learning to meet the storm with a courageous and tender presence, to neither fight it nor drown in it, but to learn to ride its waves with wisdom and compassion. The first step in this art is to change our fundamental view of what an emotion is. We are conditioned to label emotions as good or bad. Joy, love, and excitement are good. We cling to them. Anger, fear, and grief are bad. We resist them. But what if this binary is a false one? What if an emotion is simply energy moving through the body? The very word emotion contains the word motion. It is energy in motion. From this perspective, there are no bad emotions. There is only energy that feels pleasant or unpleasant, constricted or expansive. The suffering comes not from the energy itself, but from our relationship to it. When we resist an unpleasant energy, when we tense our bodies and minds against it, we are effectively building a dam. The energy, which wants to flow, becomes trapped. It builds pressure. It stagnates. It is this trapped, resisted energy that causes us so much pain and disrupts our sleep so profoundly. The path to release, then, is not to fight the energy, but to learn how to allow it to move through us, witnessed with a kind and accepting awareness. For this delicate and courageous work, the contemporary mindfulness teacher Tara Brach has synthesized ancient Buddhist teachings into a beautiful and practical framework, a memorable acronym that serves as a guide in the midst of a storm. The acronym is RAIN, and it stands for recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture. It is a four-step practice of radical compassion that we can apply anytime we are caught in the grip of a powerful emotion. The first step, R, is to recognize. This is the initial moment of mindfulness, of waking up from the trance of the emotion. Instead of being completely lost in the feeling, we pause, and we mentally name what is present. We say to ourselves, this is anger, or fear is here, or this is the feeling of sadness. This simple act of naming is incredibly powerful. It immediately creates a sliver of separation between the observer and the observed. We are no longer saying, I am angry. We are saying, I am aware that the energy of anger is present. It stops the unconscious momentum of the reaction and shines a small light of awareness into the darkness. It is the moment you realize you are in a storm, rather than believing you are the storm. The second step, A, is to allow. This is perhaps the most counterintuitive and radical step. Having recognized the emotion, we consciously give it permission to be there. We stop fighting it. We lay down our weapons. We might say to ourselves, it's okay, or this can be here, or I allow this feeling. We are letting go of our resistance, our internal no to reality. This does not mean we like the feeling, nor does it mean we have to act on it. It simply means we are ending the inner war. The resistance, the tensing against the emotion, is what creates the secondary layer of suffering. Allowing the emotion to be present, without judgment, is what begins to soften the dam, allowing the trapped energy to begin to flow again. The third step, I, is to investigate. This is not a mental, analytical investigation into why you feel the way you do. It is not about creating a story. It is a gentle, embodied curiosity. The primary question of this investigation is, what does this feel like in my body right now? You bring your awareness to the raw, physical sensations of the emotion. Where does the fear live? Is it a cold, hollow feeling in your stomach, a tightness in your throat, a buzzing in your hands? What are its qualities? Is it sharp or dull, heavy or light, hot or cold? Does it vibrate or ache? You approach these sensations like a kind scientist, with a gentle, non-judgmental curiosity. This step is profoundly healing because it brings the emotion out of the realm of terrifying abstract concepts and grounds it in the body as a manageable set of physical sensations. And as you watch these sensations, you will notice, through the wisdom of impermanence, that they are not static. They shift, they change, they pulse. They are not as solid as they first appeared. The final step, N, is to nurture. This is the act of bringing active compassion to the part of you that is suffering. Having recognized the presence of a difficult emotion, allowed it to be there, and felt it in your body, you now offer it kindness. This is where the practice of metta becomes deeply personal and targeted. A simple way to practice this is to place a hand gently on your heart, or wherever in your body you feel the emotion most strongly. The warmth of your hand is a direct physical expression of care. Then, you can offer some words of kindness to that vulnerable part of yourself, silently, like a mother soothing a child. You might say, "I'm so sorry this is so painful," or "I am here with you, you are not alone," or "This is a moment of suffering, let me be kind to myself." You are essentially asking yourself, what does this wounded part of me most need to hear right now? And then offering that message of comfort and care. This step satisfies the deep need we all have to feel seen, held, and loved in our moments of pain. This entire process can be understood through the simple, powerful metaphor of a mother and her crying child. Imagine a child wakes in the night, crying out in fear or pain. An unskilled parent might ignore the child, or worse, scold the child for making noise, telling it to be quiet. This only deepens the child's distress and teaches it that its feelings are not valid. But a wise and compassionate mother does something different. She goes to the child. She doesn't immediately try to fix the problem or silence the crying. Her first act is simply to be present. She picks up the child and holds it. She embraces it. This is recognizing and allowing. Then, she might ask, "Where does it hurt?" Feeling the child's forehead for a fever, looking for the source of the discomfort. This is investigation. And finally, she soothes the child with her calm presence, her gentle touch, and her soft voice, whispering, "It's okay. Mommy's here. You are safe." This is nurturing. In being held, heard, and soothed, the child's nervous system naturally calms down, the storm passes, and it can drift back to sleep. Our difficult emotions are this crying child within. Our compassionate awareness is the wise mother. Our task is to turn toward our own suffering with this same tender, loving care. By practicing rain, we learn to meet our emotional storms with grace. We develop the capacity to process difficult feelings as they arise, rather than letting them become trapped energy that haunts our nights. This practice frees us from the cycle of suppression and reactivity and opens us up to a deeper level of self-understanding and inner peace. We have now learned to work with our bodies and our hearts. We have a way to navigate even the most challenging inner weather. This gives us an immense sense of freedom and agency. With this foundation, we can now return to one of the most subtle and persistent sources of our nightly unease, the relentless inner critic, the story of our own inadequacy, and the deep-seated fear of failure that attaches itself so powerfully to our quest for a perfect night's sleep. Having learned to meet the storms of our emotional life with the gentle rain of compassion, we uncover a new layer of freedom. We are no longer at the mercy of our inner weather. Yet, even with this newfound emotional resilience, a more subtle and pervasive tyrant can still govern our nights. This tyrant is the pursuit of perfection. In our modern culture, we are conditioned to optimize everything. We track our steps, our calories, our productivity, and with the rise of technology, we have now turned this relentless drive for optimization upon our sleep. We strive for the perfect 8 hours, the ideal percentage of deep sleep, a flawless graph on our smartwatch. We have turned our beds into a performance arena, and each night we lie down with the subtle, gnawing fear of failure. This pressure to achieve a perfect night's sleep is, itself, a profound source of the very anxiety that keeps us awake. To find a true and lasting peace, we must learn to dismantle this tyranny of perfectionism. For this, we can turn to a gentle and profound stream of wisdom from Japan, a worldview known as wabi-sabi. Wabi-sabi is an aesthetic and a philosophy that finds a deep, quiet beauty in things that are imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete. It is a worldview that stands in gentle opposition to the Western obsession with the flawless, the mass-produced, and the eternally new. The term itself is composed of two concepts. Wabi speaks to a kind of rustic simplicity, a life of quietness and humility, finding contentment with less. It is the feeling of a small, unadorned cabin in the woods, a sense of being in harmony with nature. Sabi refers to the beauty that accrues with time and use. It is the patina on an old bronze statue, the smooth, worn texture of a wooden handrail, the visible signs of age and wear that tell an object's story. Together, Wabi-sabi invites us to appreciate the grace of things as they are, not as we think they should be. It finds beauty in a misshapen, handmade teacup more than a perfectly symmetrical, factory-made one. It sees more character in a weathered stone wall covered in moss than in a polished marble facade. This philosophy flows directly from the heart of Zen Buddhist teachings. It is the aesthetic expression of accepting impermanence, of acknowledging the reality of life's inherent flaws, and of finding a quiet, profound peace within that reality. How, then, does this ancient aesthetic wisdom offer us an antidote to our very modern sleep anxiety? It does so by inviting us to completely reframe our expectations. The pursuit of a perfect night's sleep is based on the fantasy that our bodies are machines that should perform with perfect consistency. But our bodies are not machines. They are natural, organic systems, inextricably linked to the rhythms of the earth. Nature is not perfect or consistent. Some days are sunny, some are rainy. Some seasons are full of vibrant growth. Others are times of quiet dormancy. Wabi-sabi teaches us to see our own lives and our sleep as part of this natural, fluctuating rhythm. There will be nights of deep, effortless rest, just as there are perfect, sunny days. And there will be nights that are fragmented, restless, or short, just as there are cloudy, stormy days. This is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that we are alive, that we are part of the imperfect, ever-changing dance of nature. To expect a perfect graph on our sleep tracker every single night is as absurd as expecting the weather to be 72 degrees and sunny every single day. This acceptance of fluctuation allows us to shift our goal. Instead of the stressful, all-or-nothing goal of, I must achieve a perfect night's sleep, we can adopt a gentler, more compassionate intention. Can I find a way to be at ease, even when this night is not perfect? The focus shifts from controlling the outcome to cultivating a state of being. It is the peace of surrender, the peace of accepting what is. This also frees us from the heavy burden of the past. The narrative of bad sleep is cumulative. We carry the memory of last night's tossing and turning into tonight, creating an expectation of failure before we even get into bed. We worry about accruing a sleep debt that we may never repay. The wabi-sabi mind, rooted in the present moment, sees each night as a new beginning, a clean slate. Last night, with all its struggles, is gone. It is a memory, as intangible as a dream. This night, right now, is a new reality, fresh and unknown. By releasing the story of the past, we meet the present moment with openness and curiosity, rather than dread and resignation. There is a traditional Japanese art form that beautifully embodies this philosophy. It is called kintsugi, which means to join with gold. When a cherished ceramic bowl or plate is broken, it is not discarded as ruined. Instead, the broken pieces are painstakingly reassembled by a master craftsman who uses a special lacquer mixed with powdered gold, silver, or platinum to mend the cracks. The result is breathtaking. The lines of breakage are not hidden or disguised. They are illuminated, celebrated, transformed into shimmering veins of gold. The philosophy of kintsugi is that the object's history of damage and repair is an integral part of its story. And it is this very history that makes it more beautiful, more precious, and more resilient than it was before its breaking. The scars are not flaws, they are the highlights of its unique journey. This is a profound metaphor for our own lives and our relationship with our struggles. We tend to view our broken nights, our periods of anxiety, our emotional scars, as shameful flaws to be hidden, fixed, or forgotten. We see them as evidence of our failure. The wisdom of Kintsugi invites us to see ourselves through a completely different lens. These nights of struggle, these moments of feeling broken, are our cracks. They are part of our story. What if, instead of hating these cracks, we were to mend them with the gold of our own compassionate awareness? What if every time we met our frustration with patience, every time we greeted our fear with a gentle breath, every time we held our own imperfection with kindness, we were tracing our own fault lines with liquid gold? From this perspective, our struggles are not what is wrong with us. They are the very experiences that, when met with a loving presence, have the potential to make us deeper, wiser, and more compassionate human beings. Our brokenness, when held with love, becomes our most profound beauty. By embracing the quiet wisdom of wabi-sabi and the healing spirit of Kintsugi, we can begin to liberate ourselves from the exhausting and self-defeating pursuit of perfection. It is an invitation to fall in love with our own imperfect, messy, beautiful human lives. We can learn to find a gentle peace in the acceptance of things as they are, rather than constantly striving for an idealized version of how they should be. This allows us to approach our nights not as a test we might fail, but as an experience to be met with curiosity and grace. This acceptance of imperfection, this willingness to let go of our attachment to a specific outcome, is a monumental step toward inner freedom. But to fully embody this release, we must take our practice one layer deeper. We must learn to untangle ourselves, not just from the desired outcomes of the future, but from the accumulated weight of the past, and learn to truly inhabit the only place where life ever happens, this timeless, ever-present, and sacred now. Through the wisdom of wabi-sabi, we have begun to release ourselves from the tyranny of perfectionism, learning to find a gentle grace in the imperfect flow of our lives. This is a profound act of letting go, but the mind, in its habitual restlessness, will quickly find new things to grasp. If it is not grasping for a perfect future, it will be clinging to a painful past. The sleepless mind is, almost by definition, a time-traveling mind. It is a mind that has forgotten how to live in the only time that is ever real. All of our deepest anxieties, our most persistent regrets, and our most frantic struggles are fueled by this constant, exhausting journey into two lands that do not exist, yesterday and tomorrow. The ultimate healing, the deepest peace, is found when we finally learn to step off this phantom train and arrive fully in the sanctuary of the present moment. Let us examine the nature of our suffering with clarity. Consider anxiety, that cold, gripping fear that so often visits us in the dark. What is it made of? Anxiety is always, without exception, a story about the future. It is a mental projection of a negative outcome that has not happened. What if I can't get to sleep tonight? Tomorrow will be a disaster. What if my boss is unhappy with my work? I might lose my job. What if this strange feeling in my body is a serious illness? In each of these cases, we are tormenting ourselves with a phantom. We are generating real, physical stress response, a racing heart, shallow breathing, a surge of cortisol in reaction to an event that exists only in our imagination. The future has no reality. It has not happened. It is a guess, a speculation, a dream. To be anxious is to suffer from something that is not real. Now, consider the other side of the coin. Regret, guilt, shame, and resentment. These heavy, sticky emotions are the ghosts of the past. They are stories we tell ourselves about events that are finished, over, and unchangeable. I should not have said that. If only I had made a different choice. Why did that happen to me? The mind endlessly replays these scenes, dissecting them, judging them, wishing them different. But the past is no more real than the future. It exists only as a collection of memories, fragile and often distorted electrical imprints in our neural pathways. It is not happening now. To be lost in regret is to be haunted by ghosts, to allow the dead hand of yesterday to strangle the life out of today. The sleepless mind is a mind trapped in this prison of its own making, a cell whose bars are forged from the regrets of the past and the fears of the future. It endlessly ricochets between these two unreal realms, completely overlooking the one place of freedom, the one open door, the present moment. What then is this present moment? It is not a complex philosophical concept. It is the simplest, most obvious, and most overlooked reality of our existence. The present moment is the raw data of your sensory experience, right now, before your mind adds a layer of story and judgment to it. It is reality, unedited, and you can access it at any time, simply by dropping out of the world of thought and into the world of your senses. Let us try this now. As you are lying here, can you shift your attention to your sense of hearing? Do not listen for anything in particular. Simply open your awareness to the entire soundscape of this moment. What is actually here? Perhaps the low hum of an appliance, the sound of a car passing in the distance, the almost imperceptible sound of your own body breathing. Just receive these sounds as pure vibration, without needing to label them or judge them as good or bad. This is the reality of hearing, right now. Now, bring your awareness to the sensations of touch and feeling. What is the physical reality of your body in this moment? Can you feel the exact temperature of the air on your exposed skin? Can you feel the texture of the bed sheets or the blanket? Can you feel the subtle, yet undeniable, pull of gravity, the weight of your body resting on the mattress? Feel the points of contact, your head on the pillow, your shoulders against the bed, the weight of your heels. These sensations are not a memory or a future projection. They are happening right now. This is reality. You can even become aware of the space inside your own body, the feeling of aliveness, the subtle thrum of energy, or tingling in your hands and feet. This is the direct, unfiltered experience of being alive in this moment. By resting your attention here, in the felt sense of the body, you are anchoring yourself in what is real. You are pulling your energy and your belief away from the mind's fictional stories and grounding yourself in the truth of direct experience. We often resist this invitation to come into the present moment because, on the surface, it can seem boring. The mind is an addict, hooked on the drama of the past and the suspense of the future. It loves to chew on old grievances and spin out catastrophic future scenarios. The simple, quiet, unadorned reality of the present moment, the feeling of the breath, the sound of the fan can, seem profoundly uninteresting by comparison. We have been conditioned to believe that life happens in the big moments, in the dramatic events, but the wisdom of this path teaches us the opposite. The drama is where the suffering is. The boring is where the peace is. The present moment is boring, in the same way that a deep, calm, clear lake is boring compared to a raging, chaotic tsunami. We have become so accustomed to the chaos of the tsunami that we have forgotten the deep, unshakable peace of the lake. The invitation is to learn to appreciate the subtle beauty of this stillness. It is to discover that in this simple, non-dramatic presence, there is a quality of rest that is far deeper than any that comes from a mind that has simply exhausted itself from its own drama. It is a peace that is not dependent on any particular outcome, because it is found in reality itself, which is always and only now. There is a beautiful old story that speaks to this truth. A man was told in a dream that he possessed a rare and priceless diamond, but he had lost it and had to find it. He woke up and began to search. He spent years, his entire life, on a frantic quest. He traveled to the most distant lands, he dug in the deepest mines, he scaled the highest mountains, and he dove into the deepest oceans. He grew old, weary, and discouraged in his relentless search. Finally, heartbroken and exhausted, he gave up and returned to the simple, humble hut where he had started his journey. As he collapsed into his old wooden chair, ragged and defeated, he felt a strange, hard lump in the pocket of the simple robe he had been wearing for all these years. He reached in, and his fingers closed around a stone. He pulled it out, and there, in the palm of his hand, shimmering with an inner light, was the priceless diamond. It had been with him the entire time. Peace is that diamond. It is not something to be found out there, in some future night of perfect sleep, or by somehow fixing the past. It is not a reward to be earned after a long and arduous struggle. It is right here. It has been with you all along, hidden in the simple, humble pocket of the present moment. Our only task is to stop our frantic searching and simply be still enough to notice what we have always possessed. To live in this awareness, to courageously and repeatedly return to the simple, sensory reality of this moment, is the ultimate practice. It is the master key that unlocks the prison of the mind. It is the direct path to the peace that you seek. This is your true home. All the practices we have discussed are simply different doorways into this same room, the timeless and sacred now. And yet, we must be realistic. We have spent a lifetime cultivating the habit of distraction, and the entire architecture of our modern world seems custom-built to reinforce this habit. Our devices, our media, our culture, they all conspire to pull us out of the present moment, to capture our attention and sell it to the highest bidder. To truly learn to live here, we must not only practice returning to the present, but we must also learn to build a fence around the sacred garden of our attention, to protect it from the constant invasion of distraction. We have discovered that the peace we seek is not in a distant future or a rewritten past, but is always available to us, a hidden jewel in the humble pocket of the present moment. To learn to rest in this presence is the ultimate aim of our practice. And yet, we must be honest about the world we inhabit. The entire architecture of our modern life, particularly our digital technology, seems to be engaged in a relentless conspiracy against the present moment. It is an engine of distraction, designed with immense sophistication to capture our most precious and finite resource, attention, and pull us away from our own lives. To truly cultivate a mind that is calm and quiet enough for deep rest, it is not enough to simply practice returning to the present. We must also learn to build a compassionate and intelligent fence around the sacred garden of our awareness, to protect it from the constant, chaotic influx of the digital world. We must learn to become the wise gatekeeper of our own minds. To understand the urgency of this, we must first understand the true cost of our constant connection. Imagine your mind is like your stomach. It has a certain capacity to digest what you put into it. If you feed your stomach a steady diet of nutritious, whole foods in reasonable quantities, it functions well. But if you constantly gorge on highly processed, sugary, chemical-laden junk food, you will inevitably suffer from indigestion, inflammation, and dis-ease. Our minds are no different. In the digital age, we are feeding our minds a constant, all-day buffet of mental junk food. We scroll through endless feeds of outrage-inducing news, carefully curated images of other people's perfect lives that fuel our own sense of inadequacy, and a fire hose of trivial information that clutters our consciousness. Each notification that buzzes in our pocket or flashes on our screen is a tiny interruption. It triggers a small jolt of adrenaline, a microdose of stress. It activates the brain's novelty-seeking circuits, releasing a hit of dopamine that makes us want more, creating a cycle of addiction that is neurologically similar to a slot machine. We are training our brains, all day long to be in a state of anxious anticipation, constantly scanning for the next hit of information. Then, when night comes and we turn off the external inputs, we expect our minds to be peaceful. But what actually happens is a kind of mental indigestion. The mind, finally free from new stimulation, tries to process the chaotic, indigestible meal it has consumed all day. It regurgitates fragments of headlines, echoes of angry comments, flashes of images, and half-formed anxieties. The monkey mind is not just swinging from branches, it is swinging from branches made of digital junk, and its frantic energy is the direct result of its toxic diet. To find peace at night, we must first go on a digital diet during the day. This begins by creating sacred boundaries of time and space. The most powerful and transformative boundary you can set is to institute a digital sunset. This means choosing a specific time each evening, at least an hour, and preferably 90 minutes before you plan to sleep, when all screens are turned off and put away. This is not just about avoiding the sleep-disrupting blue light from the screens. It is a conscious act of giving your mind and your nervous system a desperately needed cool-down period. It is a declaration that for this last portion of the day, your own inner world is more important than the entire outer world of information. An even more powerful practice is to declare your bedroom a permanent, screen-free sanctuary. The bed should be a place for rest, not for scrolling. The last thing you see at night and the first thing you see in the morning should not be a screen filled with the world's anxieties and demands. Buy a simple, inexpensive, old-fashioned alarm clock and charge your phone in another room, like the kitchen or the living room. This single, simple act can radically alter the quality of your sleep and your morning, as it removes the temptation and breaks the addictive cycle of checking your phone right before sleep and immediately upon waking. Beyond these major boundaries, you can begin to consciously curate your digital environment throughout the day. You are the gardener of your own attention. You can choose what to water and what to weed. Go through your phone and ruthlessly turn off every non-essential notification. Does a social media app really need the power to interrupt your present moment at any time? Unsubscribe from email newsletters that you never read and that only clutter your inbox. Unfollow social media accounts that consistently make you feel anxious, envious, or angry. Each of these small actions is an act of reclaiming your power. It is you deciding what information is worthy of your attention, rather than allowing corporations to decide for you. You can also create mindful transitions. Before you pick up your phone, take one conscious breath and ask yourself, what is my intention for using this device right now? And after you put it down, take 3 conscious breaths to intentionally release yourself from its digital world and return your awareness to your physical body and your immediate surroundings. This practice of setting boundaries and curating your inputs naturally leads to a profound philosophical shift in your relationship with technology. The default state in our culture is to be a passive consumer. We allow algorithms, which are designed solely to maximize our engagement, to feed us a steady stream of content that often leaves us feeling agitated and depleted. The mindful path is to become a conscious user. It is to move from a position of reactivity to one of intentionality. Technology is neither inherently good nor evil. It is a tool. The question is, are you using the tool, or is the tool using you? When you reclaim your agency, you begin to use technology as a servant, not a master. Instead of reaching for your phone to mindlessly numb a feeling of boredom or loneliness, you might make a conscious choice to use it for something nourishing. You could use a meditation app to listen to a guided practice. You could listen to calming, ambient music. You could use it to make a phone call, using your actual voice, to connect meaningfully with a friend or family member. The device is the same, but the intention behind its use changes the experience completely, from one that depletes your energy to one that can actually restore it. Imagine your mind is your home. It is a beautiful, quiet house where you can feel safe, peaceful, and truly yourself. Now, imagine you decided to leave the front door wide open, 24 hours a day. Anyone could wander in at any time. Pushy salespeople could come in and shout at you. Angry strangers could storm through, yelling about their problems. Nosy neighbors could come in and rearrange your furniture. Your peaceful home would quickly become a chaotic, noisy, and deeply stressful place. You would never be able to rest. Leaving our digital life unmanaged is exactly like leaving the front door of our mind wide open. The practice of a digital diet, of setting boundaries, and of using technology with intention is the simple, wise, and necessary act of becoming the gatekeeper for our own home. It is about learning to close the door so that our inner sanctuary can remain a place of peace. By consciously managing our relationship with the digital world, we protect the sacred space of our attention. We stop feeding the monkey mind its favorite junk food. We create the outer conditions of quiet and calm that are so essential for inner peace and deep rest. We have learned to close the door to the endless noise of the outside world. But what about the noise that originates from within? What about the one voice that we can't simply turn off? The voice that can be our most relentless and damaging critic. What do we do when the call is coming from inside the house? We have learned to create a sanctuary in our homes by drawing a boundary around the relentless noise of the outside world. We have closed the door to the endless stream of digital distractions. But often, the most persistent and disruptive noise is not the one that comes from outside. It is the one that is already inside the house. It is the voice of the inner critic, that familiar narrator of our own inadequacy, the tireless judge who sits in the high court of our mind, passing sentence on our every perceived failure. As you lie awake, this voice can become a merciless tormentor. Here you go again, it sneers. Another failed night. You're so weak. You'll be useless tomorrow. This voice is perhaps the single greatest source of self-inflicted stress. Our instinct is to fight it, to argue with it, or to crumble under its judgment. But the path of wisdom offers a different approach, a truly radical one. To not fight this voice, but to befriend it. To begin this process of befriending, we must first understand the anatomy of this inner critic. Who is this voice, really? And where did it come from? The first thing to recognize is that this voice is not originally yours. It did not spring fully formed from your own consciousness. It is a collage, a psychic echo, an internalization of the voices of authority and judgment from your past. It might carry the tone of a well-meaning but critical parent who pushed you to succeed because they feared for your future. It might sound like a demanding teacher who held you to impossibly high standards. It may be the collective, disembodied voice of a society that relentlessly preaches a gospel of productivity, success, and self-optimization, shaming any sign of vulnerability or rest. This voice is a ghost, a recording of the past playing on a loop inside your head. The second, and most crucial, compassionate insight is to understand the critic's misguided intention. As strange as it may sound, the inner critic, at its core, is often trying to protect you. It is a primitive and unskilled guardian. It operates on a fearful, backward logic. If I punish you for your flaws before anyone else does, maybe you will fix them, and then you won't be rejected or abandoned. If I shame you for being tired, maybe you will try harder to sleep, and then you won't fail tomorrow. It is like a guard dog that barks ferociously and bites its owner, believing this is the only way to keep intruders away. Its methods are harmful, painful, and deeply counterproductive, but its fundamental motivation is often rooted in a terrified desire to keep you safe from perceived danger. When we can see this, even for a fleeting moment, our relationship with the voice begins to change. We can move from seeing it as a malicious enemy to seeing it as a frightened, confused, an unskilled part of ourselves that is in deep need of compassion and retraining. Our usual strategy for dealing with the critic is to go to war with it. When it says, "You're a failure," we fight back, "No, I'm not." We get into a draining internal argument, a tug of war that only gives the critic more of our energy and attention, making it feel more real and more powerful. Or we try to suppress it, to push it down, which is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It will eventually burst back up with even greater force. The path of mindfulness teaches us to drop the rope, to end the war, and to do something completely unexpected, to turn toward the critic with curiosity and listen. This does not mean believing what it says. It means listening for the feeling beneath what it says. When the critic starts its tirade, instead of engaging with the content of its insults, we can gently ask it some questions. What are you so afraid of right now? What is the worst thing you think will happen if I don't sleep? What are you trying to protect me from? We are not seeking its advice. We are compassionately inquiring into its motivation. This practice can transform the entire inner dialogue. Let's imagine the scene. The critic begins. You're still awake. It's hopeless. You've completely failed at this. The old, reactive response would be to tense up and fight back. Be quiet. I'm trying to relax. You're making it worse. This is a declaration of war. A new, mindful, and compassionate response would be to first take a conscious breath, then to turn your attention inward and speak to that critical voice as you would a scared child. You might say, silently, "I hear you. I know you're really worried about how tired I'll be tomorrow. It sounds like you're scared I won't be able to cope. I want to thank you for trying so hard to protect me. I really appreciate your vigilance, but your job is done for tonight. It is safe for us to rest now. I will take care of us." Let's break down the power of this new response. First, you acknowledge its presence. I hear you. This immediately changes the dynamic from a fight to a dialogue. You are not resisting it. Second, you validate its underlying emotion, its fear. I know you're worried. This tells the frightened part of you that it has been seen and understood. Third, you express gratitude for its misguided intention. Thank you for trying to protect me. This is a deeply compassionate act that can disarm the critic completely. It has only ever known resistance. Gratitude is a language it doesn't know how to fight. And finally, you gently but firmly set a boundary and offer reassurance. Your job is done for tonight. It is safe for us to rest. You are stepping into the role of the wise, compassionate adult, taking charge from the panicky, critical part of your mind. This very approach is beautifully illustrated in the stories of the Buddha's interactions with a figure named Mara. Mara is often depicted as a demon, a god of temptation and delusion, who personifies the very forces that obstruct enlightenment. On the night the Buddha sat beneath the Bodhi tree, resolved to find liberation, Mara appeared to stop him. He sent vast armies of terrifying demons. He sent his beautiful daughters to seduce him. He challenged the Buddha's very right to seek enlightenment. The Buddha's response to these attacks was not to fight fire with fire. He did not draw a sword or raise his voice. He simply rested in his deep stillness. And when Mara spoke to him directly, the Buddha's response was one of simple, unshakable recognition. He would often just say, "I see you, Mara." In some tellings, he would go even further, offering Mara the hospitality one would offer a guest, metaphorically inviting him to sit and have tea. The lesson is profound. The forces of fear, doubt, and delusion own inner Mara thrive on resistance. They gain their power from our fear of them. When we meet them not with hostility, but with a calm, clear-seeing awareness, when we can say, "Ah, inner critic, I see you there," and offer it the tea of our compassion, its power to disturb us dissolves. It is seen, it is acknowledged, and it is no longer the terrifying monster in the dark. It is just another guest in the guest house of our mind. By learning to practice this compassionate dialogue, we transform our relationship with the most difficult part of ourselves. The inner critic is no longer an enemy to be silenced, but a misguided friend to be gently re-educated. We cease to be the victim of our own self-judgment and instead become the source of our own deepest compassion. We learn how to be our own best friend, even in the lonely hours of a sleepless night. This practice of befriending the inner critic frees us from the painful story of me, the failure. It loosens the grip of the ego's narrative, and this opens a doorway to an even deeper, more profound liberation that lies at the heart of Buddhist thought. What if this me, this self, that we work so tirelessly to judge and defend, the very same I who is struggling so hard, is not as solid, real, or permanent as it appears? What happens to the struggle when we begin to investigate the very nature of the struggler? We have taken a courageous step inward, learning to meet our inner critic, not with hostility, but with the gentle curiosity of a friend. In doing so, we begin to loosen the painful story of me, the failure. We have softened the narrative. Now, we are invited to take the most radical step of all, to turn the lens of our awareness onto the narrator itself. For our entire lives, we have operated on a single, unexamined assumption that at the center of our experience, there is a fixed, solid, continuous I, an ego, a self, a little person in the control tower of our head, who is the thinker of our thoughts, the feeler of our feelings, and the hero of our life story. It is this I who is struggling. It is this I who cannot sleep. It is this I who is suffering. But what if, when we look for this I with a clear and honest attention, we cannot find it? This investigation into the nature of the self leads us to the most profound and liberating of all the Buddha's teachings, the wisdom of anatta, or no self. It is a teaching that, when understood, has the power to dismantle our suffering at its very root. Let us begin this investigation, not as a philosophical debate, but as a direct exploration of our own experience. The Buddha, like a master scientist of the mind, looked deeply into his own being to find the essence of this self, and what he found was not a solid entity, but a dynamic, shimmering, interdependent process. He saw that what we call a person is in fact a flowing convergence of 5 distinct processes, known as the 5 aggregates or skandhas. Let's look at them one by one in the context of a sleepless night. The first aggregate is form, which means the physical body. As you lie here, feel your body. Is this body a fixed, permanent thing that you can call I? Your cells are constantly dying and being replaced. Your hair and nails are growing. Your body digests food, gets sick, gets healthy, feels tired, feels energetic. It is a river of constant change, not a solid statue. Right now, it is simply a collection of physical sensations: warmth, pressure, tingling, the feeling of the breath. Is there a permanent me in these fleeting sensations? If we look closely, we cannot find one. The second aggregate is feeling. This refers to the raw, immediate sensation of experience as either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Right now, you might be experiencing the unpleasant feeling of frustration or the neutral feeling of the air on your skin. Are you this feeling? Clearly not. A few hours ago, you may have felt pleasant. In a few hours, you may feel so again. Feelings arise, they exist for a moment, and they vanish. They are like bubbles on the surface of water. To claim a fleeting bubble as our permanent self would be absurd. The third aggregate is perception. This is the mind's function of recognizing and labeling. It is the part of the mind that says, that is a sound, or this is a pillow, or this is anxiety. It is the process of categorizing our experience. Are you this labeling function? This too is just a process. The label anxiety is just a sound in the mind, a flicker of recognition. It is a mental event, not the essence of who you are. The fourth aggregate is mental formations. This is a broad category that includes all of our thoughts, opinions, beliefs, memories, habits, and intentions. This is where most of us locate our sense of self. We think we are our thoughts and beliefs, but as we have already seen, thoughts are like clouds passing in the sky. A thought of worry arises, and then it is gone. A memory surfaces, and then it fades. These mental formations are the most impermanent and unreliable of all the aggregates. To build our identity on such shifting sands is to guarantee a life of instability. The fifth and final aggregate is consciousness. This is the fundamental quality of knowing or awareness itself. It is the light of consciousness that illuminates all the other aggregates. It is the awareness that knows the body, knows the feeling, knows the perception, and knows the thought. But is this awareness a static, unchanging me? If you watch closely, you will see that consciousness itself flickers. Now it is aware of a sound. Now it is aware of a thought. Now it is aware of a sensation in your foot. It is not a monolithic entity, but a flickering, cognitive process, arising in dependence on an object. So, when we look deeply, where is the I? It is not in the body, not in the feelings, not in the perceptions, not in the thoughts, and not in the flickering consciousness. The profound conclusion is that there is no single, solid, independent self to be found. What we call I is simply a convenient name, a label we apply to the dynamic, flowing, interdependent dance of these five processes. There is a famous story in the Buddhist texts that makes this point with beautiful clarity. A Greek king named Melinda, a great philosophical debater, sought out a Buddhist sage named Nagasena to challenge him. The king began by asking Nagasena his name. Nagasena replied that he was known as Nagasena, but that this was just a name, a designation, and that no permanent person corresponding to the name could be found. The king, thinking he had found a flaw in this logic, pointed to his own magnificent chariot and asked, "Reverend sir, what is a chariot? Is the pole the chariot? Are the wheels the chariot? Is the axle, the frame, the yoke, or the reins the chariot?" To each question, Nagasena calmly answered, "No, your majesty." The king was delighted. "Then," he said, "if the chariot is none of these individual parts, it must not exist at all. You are speaking a falsehood." But Nagasena turned the question back on the king. "Your majesty, is the chariot then something other than the collection of its parts?" The king had to admit that it was not. Nagasena then delivered the teaching, "Your majesty, chariot is simply a name, a convenient designation, a conventional term for the pole, the axle, the wheels, and the frame, all assembled together in a particular way." He then concluded, "In just the same way, Nagasena is a convenient designation for the collection of the body, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. But when we look for a permanent person, in the absolute sense, it cannot be found." This story reveals the heart of the wisdom of anatta. The I that you believe is struggling to sleep is just like that chariot. It is a convenient name for a temporary coming together of a tired body, unpleasant feelings of frustration, perceptions of failure, and a stream of anxious thoughts. When we ask, "Who is it that cannot sleep?" and we look closely, we cannot find a single, solid entity. We only find these changing processes. This insight is not a nihilistic denial of our existence. It is the ultimate liberation. It allows us to make a profound shift in perspective. When a wave of anxiety arises, the thought is no longer, "I am anxious." The thought can become, there is a feeling of anxiety arising in this mind of body process. When sleep does not come, the story is no longer, "I am a failure, I can't sleep." The observation becomes, there is a condition of wakefulness present in this body right now. Do you feel the difference? This shift from the personal to the phenomenal, from my problem to a condition that is present, drains the suffering of its personal sting. It takes the me out of the center of the drama. Without a me to be the victim, without a solid ego to feel personally attacked and defeated, the struggle loses its fuel. It is no longer a personal failure that needs to be judged and rectified. It is simply an impersonal set of conditions, arising due to causes, existing for a time, and destined to pass away. This is the end of the war, because we realize the person we thought we were fighting for was never really there to begin with. This is the ultimate release. This profound change in view, this insight into the empty, interdependent nature of the self, alters everything. If there is no permanent me who is failing, then what is a sleepless night? It is no longer a personal tragedy or a sign of our inadequacy. It is simply an experience, a set of conditions unfolding in awareness. This realization opens up the possibility of relating to our nights of wakefulness in a completely new and transformative way, not as a problem to be endured, but as a rare and precious opportunity for practice. Having journeyed to the heart of our identity and seen that the solid, separate self we take so seriously is more like a flowing river than a fixed statue, we arrive at a place of radical freedom. If there is no permanent me who is failing, then the entire drama of "I can't sleep" begins to collapse under its own weight. The personal tragedy dissolves. The war against our own wakefulness is revealed to be a battle against a phantom. This insight does not magically make the body sleep, but it does something far more profound. It liberates the mind. And once the mind is liberated, we can begin to ask a truly revolutionary question. If this sleepless night is not a problem to be solved, not a failure to be endured, and not a personal flaw to be ashamed of, then what is it? The answer that emerges from the heart of contemplative wisdom is this. It is an opportunity. It is a gift of time, silence, and solitude. It is a chance to turn your bedroom from a torture chamber into a private monastery, and to transform your hours of wakefulness into a silent, solitary retreat. This transformation begins with a single courageous act, the great surrender. It is the conscious and wholehearted decision to completely and utterly abandon the goal of falling asleep. This is not a clever reverse psychology trick to try and fool yourself into slumber. It must be a genuine, unconditional release. It is a quiet declaration you make to yourself, "Okay, I see that for whatever reason, in this moment, my body and mind are in a state of wakefulness. I will not fight this reality. I will not resent it. For the remainder of this night, my goal is no longer to sleep. My goal is to be peaceful. I will use this quiet time for my practice." In the moment you make this declaration with sincerity, the entire energy of the experience shifts. The bed is no longer a battlefield. It is now your meditation hall. The clock is no longer your enemy. It is just a clock. The immense pressure to perform, to succeed at sleeping, is lifted from your shoulders. And in the spaciousness of this release, a deep sense of peace can begin to dawn. Paradoxically, it is only when we truly let go of the need to sleep that the conditions for sleep can arise naturally. But even if they do not, it no longer matters. You have changed the objective. The new goal is not unconsciousness, but a gentle, wakeful presence. With this new intention, your bed becomes the perfect place for practice. Consider the conditions. The world is quiet. The house is still. There are no emails to answer, no calls to make, no demands on your attention. These are the very conditions that people pay thousands of dollars to experience on a meditation retreat, and they have been given to you for free in the comfort of your own room. So, what can you do with this gift of time? You can return to the foundational practices we have already explored. You can begin with the breath. Simply lie there and rest your attention on the gentle rise and fall of your abdomen. Let go of any need to control it. Just feel the simple, living rhythm. If sleep comes, it comes. If it does not, you are still succeeding at your new goal, to be peacefully present with your breath. You are building your capacity for stillness. Or, this may be a perfect opportunity for a long, luxurious body scan. With no clock to race against, you can take your time, moving your awareness with painstaking slowness from the tips of your toes up to the crown of your head. You can spend minutes just feeling the aliveness in your left foot, or exploring the landscape of sensation in your right hand. You can breathe a deep, cellular softness into every part of your being. This practice is profoundly relaxing for the nervous system and is a beautiful way to inhabit your body with a kind, caring presence. The goal is not to force relaxation, but simply to offer your gentle awareness to each part of yourself, letting go of tension as you exhale. Again, if the body drifts off to sleep during this process, that is wonderful. But if it remains awake, you have still spent an hour in a state of deep, restorative, conscious rest, which is profoundly healing in its own right. The quiet of the night is also a beautiful and potent time to practice metta, or loving kindness. As you lie there, feeling perhaps a bit lonely in your wakefulness, you can fill your own heart with warmth. You can silently repeat the phrases, "May I be safe, may I be happy, may I be at peace." You can then extend this benevolent wish to your loved ones, and eventually radiate it out into the silent, sleeping world around you. This practice transforms the feeling of isolated suffering into an experience of boundless, warm-hearted connection. There may be times, however, when staying in bed only seems to increase your feeling of restlessness. The mind may still feel agitated, or the body may feel fidgety. In these moments, continuing to lie still can feel like a form of self-punishment. The wise and compassionate response is not to force yourself to stay put, but to gently change the environment. You can mindfully get out of bed and continue your retreat in a new way. Your room, which a moment ago may have felt like a prison cell, can now become your cloister for walking meditation. In the Zen tradition, this is called kinhin. Choose a clear path in your room, perhaps a few paces from one wall to another, with your hands held in a comfortable position and your gaze softened and directed toward the floor a few feet in front of you. Begin to walk at a slow, natural, and deliberate pace. The entire practice is to place your full and undivided attention on the physical sensations in the soles of your feet. Feel the sensation of lifting one foot off the floor. Feel it moving through the air. Feel the heel making gentle contact with the ground, then the ball of the foot, then the toes. Feel the transfer of weight as the other foot begins to lift. Each step is a complete universe of sensation. You are not walking to get anywhere. You are walking simply to walk. This practice is incredibly grounding. It powerfully draws the chaotic energy down from the spinning mind and into the solid reality of the body. It transforms agitated restlessness into focused, graceful movement. There is a story of a young monk who was told by his teacher to dig a well for the monastery. The young monk was full of enthusiasm and began to dig. He dug for days, going deeper and deeper into the earth, but he found no water. He began to feel discouraged and frustrated. He went to his teacher and said, "Master, I have failed. I have dug and dug, but there is no water. My efforts have been wasted." The old teacher smiled compassionately. He looked at the monk and then at the deep pit he had dug. "It is true that you did not find water," he said, "but do not say your efforts were wasted. Look at the magnificent deep hole you have created. You have learned so much about the different layers of the earth, about the nature of stone and soil. You have developed great strength and perseverance. You have not found what you were looking for, but you have gained something else of immense value. On a sleepless night, we may set out to dig for the water of sleep. We may or may not find it. But if we use that time for our practice, we are digging a deep hole of self-awareness. We are discovering the layers of our own mind. We are developing the strength of our concentration and the immense value of our own compassion. We may not get the outcome we initially wanted, but we may gain something far more precious and lasting, a deeper connection to ourselves, and a profound and unshakable inner peace. By surrendering our desperate quest for sleep and using the quiet, solitary hours of the night for mindful practice, we perform a kind of spiritual alchemy. We transform the lead of our suffering into the gold of our wisdom. We turn a curse into a blessing. Our bedroom ceases to be a place of struggle and becomes our private monastery, a sacred space for our deepest work. This is a powerful and liberating way to engage with the night itself. But what of the morning after? How do we approach the coming day when we are inevitably tired, without letting that fatigue become the seed of a new anxiety about the night to follow? How do we care for ourselves in the daylight after a long night of monastic practice? We have journeyed through the monastery of the night, learning to transform our hours of wakefulness from a time of suffering into an opportunity for practice. We have sat with our breath, walked with our feet, and held our heart with kindness in the deep, quiet solitude. But now, the sun has risen. A new day is dawning, and the world, with all its demands and expectations, is waiting. And with the morning light, a familiar and insidious fear often arises, a thought that can poison our peace before the day has even truly begun. I did not sleep enough. How will I ever get through this day? This single thought, this fear of the day ahead, is the very seed of the next night's anxiety. Our struggle to perform while tired creates the stress that will keep us awake later. Therefore, learning to navigate the day after a sleepless night with wisdom and gentleness is not just an act of kindness. It is a crucial part of our practice. It is how we break the cycle of suffering. The first and most powerful step is an act of radical acceptance. You must begin by fully and completely acknowledging the reality of your situation, without judgment or complaint. The simple, undeniable truth is this: today, I am tired. That is the starting point. Fighting this reality is as futile as arguing with the weather. You cannot will yourself to feel rested any more than you can will the rain to stop. To spend your day bemoaning your fatigue, resenting it, and fighting against it is to pour your already limited energy into a battle you cannot win. Acceptance, on the other hand, conserves your energy. It allows you to stop fighting the current and instead to begin intelligently navigating it. With this acceptance as your foundation, the next step is to consciously lower the bar for the day. This is an act of profound self-compassion, and it requires you to defy the relentless cultural pressure for constant performance and perfectionism. Today is not the day you will operate at 100% capacity. Today is not the day to start a new, ambitious project, to tackle your most challenging tasks, or to have a difficult, emotionally charged conversation. The goal for today is not to excel. The goal for today is simply to get through it with as much grace and ease as possible. Look at your to-do list for the day and perform a gentle triage. Divide your tasks into two categories: what is absolutely essential and what can wait. Be ruthlessly compassionate in this process. Postpone everything that is not truly urgent and important. The world will not fall apart if that email is answered tomorrow or that errand is run over the weekend. By consciously clearing your plate of all non-essential demands, you are honoring the reality of your body's needs. You are making a wise choice to conserve your precious and limited reserves of energy. Now that you have adjusted your outer world, you can begin to adjust your inner world, specifically your relationship to the feeling of fatigue itself. Our habitual reaction to tiredness is one of aversion. We hate the feeling. We find it unpleasant, and we immediately begin to construct a negative story around it. This feels awful. I can't think clearly. I am failing. This story, this layer of mental resistance, is actually more exhausting than the raw physical sensation of fatigue. The mindful approach is to turn toward the feeling with a gentle curiosity, just as we did with our difficult emotions. Instead of fighting the sensation, can you investigate it? What does tired actually feel like right now in your body? Drop the label tired for a moment and explore the direct physical sensations. Is it a feeling of heaviness in your limbs? Is it a dull, foggy quality in your head? Is it a slight ache behind your eyes? Is there a slowness, a sense of moving through water? By simply observing these sensations, without judging them or adding a story to them, we strip them of their emotional charge. The feeling of heaviness in your arms is just a sensation. The mental fog is just a sensation. They are not inherently catastrophic. They are just the body's way of communicating its need for rest. When we stop being at war with these feelings and instead allow them to be present, we stop wasting energy on the secondary suffering of resistance. We are still tired, yes, but we are no longer compounding that tiredness with a layer of stressful, anxious, and self-critical thought. We are simply coexisting peacefully with the reality of our body's state. Even though you did not recharge through sleep, you can still consciously replenish your energy throughout the day with small restorative pauses. These are not signs of weakness. They are intelligent strategies for self-preservation. If your circumstances permit, a short nap of around 20 minutes can be incredibly helpful. But even if you cannot fall asleep, the practice of what is sometimes called non-sleep deep rest can be profoundly rejuvenating. This simply means lying down for 20 minutes, closing your eyes, and listening to a guided meditation, like a body scan or some calming music. You are giving your body and mind a complete break from sensory input and the demands of doing. You can also turn to nature as a source of gentle energy. Stepping outside for just 10 minutes to feel the sun or the breeze on your face, to look at the sky, or to stand barefoot on the grass can help to reset a frazzled nervous system. Be mindful of what you consume. While it's tempting to power through with sugar and excessive caffeine, this will almost always lead to an energy crash later, leaving you feeling even more depleted and agitated. Instead, focus on hydrating with plenty of water and eating simple, nourishing foods that are easy to digest. A simple way to hold this entire approach in mind is to think of your energy as being like the battery on your smartphone. Imagine you wake up in the morning and realize you forgot to plug your phone in overnight. You look at the screen and see that the battery is only at 15%. What is your reaction? You don't get angry at the phone. You don't judge it for being a bad phone. You don't throw it against the wall. You simply accept the reality of the situation, and you become very wise and intentional in how you use it. You immediately switch it to low power mode. You dim the brightness of the screen. You close all the unnecessary applications running in the background. You decide to use it only for the most essential functions: a brief call, a quick text. You conserve its precious energy with diligence and care, knowing that you will have a chance to fully recharge it later. On a day after a sleepless night, your body and mind are this phone with a low battery. The wise response is not to get angry at yourself. It is to put yourself in low power mode. Be gentle. Dim your own screen by avoiding overstimulation. Close your own unnecessary applications by postponing non-essential tasks. Use your limited energy only for what truly matters, and trust that you are giving yourself the best possible chance to recharge fully when the next night comes. By meeting the day after a long night with this spirit of acceptance, gentleness, and mindful self-care, we do something truly remarkable. We break the vicious cycle of sleeplessness and anxiety. Today's fatigue is met with compassion, not with a stressful panic about performance. And because we are not spending the day accumulating more stress and anxiety, we arrive at the evening with a calmer mind and a more relaxed nervous system. We are no longer carrying the terror of the previous day into our bed. We have shown ourselves that we can cope, that we can be kind to ourselves, and that one bad night does not have to become a catastrophe. These practices we've explored provide a powerful toolkit for navigating our direct experience from moment to moment. Now, let us take a step back and see how these individual techniques for the mind, the body, and the heart fit together within the larger, comprehensive framework for a wise and compassionate life as laid out by the Buddha, the Noble Eightfold Path. The practices we have explored, from watching the breath to befriending our inner critic, like individual instruments in an orchestra. Each one has its own unique voice and power, but to create a truly beautiful and harmonious symphony of peace in our lives, these instruments must be played together as part of a larger, integrated composition. They are not just a random collection of techniques to be used in emergencies. They are integral parts of a complete and holistic way of life, a comprehensive blueprint for awakening laid out by the Buddha. This blueprint is known as the Noble Eightfold Path. Understanding this path helps us to see that our quest for a peaceful night's sleep is not separate from our quest for a wise, ethical, and compassionate life. The two are inextricably linked. The path is not a linear sequence of steps, but rather 8 interwoven aspects of a single way of being, which can be grouped into 3 essential trainings: the training in wisdom, the training in ethical conduct, and the training in mental discipline. The journey begins with the foundation of wisdom. This is the map and the compass for our path, ensuring we are heading in the right direction. It consists of 2 factors. The first is right understanding. This is the clarity of seeing things as they truly are. It is the deep, experiential understanding of what we have been exploring, that there is stress and dissatisfaction in life, such as our struggle with sleeplessness, that this stress has a cause, namely our craving for things to be different and our aversion to things as they are, that there is a possibility of freedom from this stress, and that this eightfold path is the way to that freedom. Without this correct view, our practices can become superficial. We might use meditation simply as a relaxation technique, a temporary band-aid. With right understanding, our practice becomes infused with a transformative purpose, the complete liberation of the heart and mind. The second factor of wisdom is right intention, or right thought. If right understanding is the map, right intention is the direction we choose to orient ourselves on that map. It is the conscious cultivation of wholesome states of mind. This involves 3 key intentions. The first is the intention of renunciation, which simply means the intention to let go of our obsessive clinging, letting go of our desperate need for sleep, letting go of our attachment to our anxieties. The second is the intention of loving kindness, the active cultivation of goodwill and benevolence towards ourselves and all beings, which is the direct antidote to the fear and frustration that keep us awake. The third is the intention of harmlessness, a commitment to not causing harm through our thoughts, words, or deeds. By consciously setting these intentions each day, we begin to repattern our minds, shifting them from their habitual grooves of grasping and aversion to new pathways of release and kindness. The second training on the path is in ethical conduct. This is the practice of aligning our outward actions in the world with our inner aspirations for peace. It provides a strong, stable container for our meditation practice, because a mind agitated by guilt, remorse, or regret cannot easily find stillness. This training includes 3 factors. The first is right speech. This means abstaining from lying, from divisive or slanderous speech, from harsh or abusive language, and from idle chatter. When we speak in ways that are unkind or untruthful, we create inner turmoil. The memory of a sharp, cruel comment we made can easily surface in the quiet of the night, becoming a source of restless rumination. By committing to speak truthfully, kindly, and for the benefit of others, we cultivate a clear conscience, which is a beautiful pillow upon which to rest one's head. Next is right action. This involves refraining from actions that cause harm, such as killing, stealing, or engaging in sexual misconduct. On a deeper level, it is about living a life of integrity, where our actions are in harmony with our values. When we act in ways that we know are unwholesome, we create a split within ourselves, a dissonance that gnaws at our peace. A day lived with integrity, with nothing to hide and nothing to feel ashamed of, naturally leads to a night of untroubled rest. The third factor is right livelihood. This extends these ethical principles to the way we earn our living. If our work involves deceiving people, causing harm to other beings, or trading in things that are destructive, we are spending a third of our lives engaged in an activity that is in direct conflict with our desire for inner peace. This creates a deep and chronic form of stress. To engage in work that is helpful, or at the very least not harmful, is a crucial component of an integrated and serene life. The third and final training is in mental discipline. This is where the specific meditation practices we have learned find their home. This training involves the final three factors of the path. The first is right effort. This is not a forceful, striving energy, but rather an intelligent and balanced application of our will. It is the gentle persistence required to engage in a fourfold practice. The effort to prevent unwholesome, anxious states from arising. The effort to abandon them once they have arisen. The effort to cultivate wholesome, peaceful states of mind, and the effort to maintain those peaceful states once they are present. It is the art of skillful mental gardening. Next is right mindfulness, the very heart of the path. This is the moment-to-moment, non-judgmental awareness of our experience that we have been cultivating throughout this entire journey. It is the practice of being fully present with our body, our feelings, our mind states, and the nature of reality itself. It is the anchor, the witness, and the foundation upon which all other progress is built. Finally, the path culminates in right concentration. This is the fruit that grows from the sustained practice of right mindfulness. As we train the mind to return again and again to its object of attention, like the breath, it naturally becomes more stable, unified, and collected. The scattered monkey mind gives way to a state of calm, one-pointed awareness. This state of deep concentration, or samadhi, is profoundly restful and blissful. It is the gateway to deep insight, and it is the natural precursor to a night of truly deep and restorative sleep. The image often used to describe the Noble Eightfold Path is that of a wheel with 8 spokes. For the wheel to be strong and to roll smoothly, each of the 8 spokes must be present, of equal length, and firmly connected to the hub. If one spoke is weak or broken, the entire wheel becomes wobbly and unbalanced, and the journey becomes bumpy and difficult. Our life is this wheel. We cannot simply focus on our meditation practice while neglecting our speech and our actions in the world. We cannot simply be a good person without training our minds in wisdom and mindfulness. A truly peaceful life, one that rolls smoothly and gracefully through the world, requires the simultaneous and balanced development of all 8 aspects of this path. It is a complete and holistic guide to living, showing us that our peace at night is utterly inseparable from the wisdom, integrity, and mindfulness with which we live our entire day. As we begin to walk this integrated path, to live in this more holistic way, something remarkable begins to happen. Our perception of the world starts to shift. As our minds become less cluttered with our own self-centered dramas, we begin to notice the vast and intricate web of causes and conditions that support our existence. We see the sunlight that grew the food we eat, the efforts of the people who brought it to us, the simple miracle of a working body and a breathing lung. This dawning awareness of our profound interdependence naturally gives rise to one of the most powerful, positive, and brain-altering states of mind available to us, the feeling of gratitude. As we begin to walk the integrated, holistic path of wisdom, ethical living, and mental discipline, our perception of the world undergoes a profound transformation. The walls of the self-centered mind, with its endless anxieties and grievances, begin to become more transparent. We start to see, with ever-increasing clarity, our profound interconnection with all of life. We notice the countless causes and conditions that have to conspire perfectly in each moment to support our existence. The air we breathe, the food we eat, the people who have helped us. The simple miracle of a body that knows how to heal its own wounds. As this awareness dawns, it naturally gives rise to one of the most beautiful and powerfully transformative states of mind available to us. This state is gratitude. The practice of gratitude is not a naive denial of life's difficulties. It is a form of mental alchemy, a conscious training of the mind that has the power to literally change our brain chemistry, shifting our entire being from a state of perceived lack to one of profound sufficiency, creating the perfect inner conditions for a night of deep and peaceful rest. To understand the power of gratitude, we must first understand the default setting of the human brain. For sound evolutionary reasons, our minds have what psychologists call a negativity bias. Our ancient ancestors who survived were not the ones blissfully admiring the sunset. They were the ones who were hyper-vigilant to the rustle in the grass that might be a predator. As a result, our brains are wired to be like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones. We can receive 10 compliments and 1 criticism. And which one will we ruminate on for hours? The criticism. This negativity bias is a primary engine of anxiety and sleeplessness. It keeps us in a state of constant, low-grade vigilance, always scanning the horizon for what is wrong, what is missing, or what might go wrong in the future. The practice of gratitude is the deliberate and courageous antidote to this deep-seated biological programming. It is the conscious choice to intentionally scan our experience not for threats, but for blessings. It is the training of our attention to notice what is good, what is working, what we have received, and what we can appreciate. This is not mere positive thinking. It is a deep rewiring of our neural pathways. When we genuinely feel and express gratitude, our brains respond by releasing a cascade of beneficial neurotransmitters, including dopamine, which is associated with pleasure, and the brain's reward center, and serotonin, a key mood regulator. At the same time, studies have shown that a regular gratitude practice can reduce levels of cortisol, the body's main stress hormone, by over 20%. In essence, by practicing gratitude, you are actively changing the chemical bath that your brain is soaking in. You are shifting its chemistry from one of stress, threat, and anxiety to one of contentment, safety, and well-being. This is the very state from which peaceful sleep arises naturally. The most practical and effective way to cultivate this state is through the simple ritual of keeping a gratitude journal. This practice is best done in the evening as one of the final parts of your wind-down ritual. Keep a simple notebook and a pen by your bedside. Each night, before you turn out the lights, take just a few minutes to write down 3 to 5 specific things from your day for which you are genuinely grateful. The key to this practice is specificity. General gratitude is nice, but specific gratitude is transformative. For example, instead of writing, "I'm grateful for my family," you might write, "I am grateful for the way my child laughed with such abandon this afternoon," or "I am grateful for the quiet, supportive conversation I had with my partner after dinner." Instead of, "I'm grateful for nature," you might write, "I am grateful for the feeling of the warm sun on my face during my walk today," or "I am grateful for the beautiful, deep red color of the single leaf I saw on the sidewalk." This specificity makes the experience vivid and real in your mind. It brings the memory to life, and as you write down each item, the practice is not just to make a list, but to pause and feel into the gratitude. As you recall the moment, can you feel a warmth in your chest, a softening in your body? Allow yourself to truly savor the feeling for a few seconds. This is what cements the new neural pathway. Look for the small, the ordinary, the things you usually take for granted. Gratitude for the delicious taste of your morning coffee. Gratitude for the stranger who held a door open for you. Gratitude for the comfort and warmth of the very bed you are lying in. Gratitude for the simple, stunning fact that your heart is beating and your lungs are breathing, all without any effort on your part. This practice trains your mind to find happiness, not in grand achievements or future acquisitions, but in the humble, readily available fabric of your ordinary life. It fills your mind with a sense of sufficiency and contentment right before you close your eyes. As this practice deepens, you may feel ready to explore a more advanced and even more liberating form of gratitude, learning to be grateful for your challenges. This may sound absurd at first. Why would I be grateful for a difficult colleague, a financial struggle, or indeed a sleepless night? The wisdom here lies in recognizing that our greatest growth often comes not from our ease, but from our difficulties. Our challenges are our most potent teachers. That difficult person at work may be a master teacher of patience and compassion. A financial worry may be a teacher of simplicity and resourcefulness. And a sleepless night? A sleepless night is a profound teacher. It teaches us about our own inner landscape. It teaches us the importance of self-compassion. It teaches us to let go of control. It offers us the quiet, solitary time to engage in the very practices we are exploring here, to be able to genuinely say, I am grateful for this difficulty, for the lesson it is teaching me is to perform a radical act of alchemy. It transforms you from a victim of your circumstances into an empowered and resilient student of life. It dissolves all bitterness and resentment, replacing it with a sense of purposeful learning. There is a timeless story of two prisoners who share the same cell. They have the same grim surroundings, the same meager food, and the same set of iron bars on their single window. The first prisoner spends all his days staring down through the bars at the muddy, dreary prison yard. He sees only filth, limitation, and despair. His experience is one of constant misery. The second prisoner, in the exact same situation, chooses to lift his gaze. He looks up through the very same bars and sees the vast, limitless sky. He watches the clouds drift by during the day, and at night, he marvels at the beauty of the moon and the endless sea of stars. His experience is one of wonder and spaciousness. The prison bars have not changed, but their entire worlds are different. Gratitude is this conscious choice to lift your gaze. Life will always present us with a mixture of mud and stars. The negativity bias of our mind will constantly pull our attention down to the mud. The practice of gratitude is the simple, repeated, and life-changing choice to look for the stars. By cultivating a grateful heart, we fundamentally shift our perspective from what is wrong to what is right, from what is lacking to what we already possess. This practice is a direct and powerful way to soothe the nervous system, to quiet the anxious mind, and to fill the heart with a gentle, pervasive sense of well-being. It is the perfect state of being to carry with you as you drift into the realm of sleep. We have now journeyed a great distance together. We have diagnosed our modern restlessness, and we have learned to use the tools of mindfulness, compassion, ethics, and gratitude to heal ourselves. For the final part of our deep exploration, let us synthesize all that we have learned and contemplate the true nature of the profound stillness that we seek. We have traveled a great and winding path together on this journey into the heart of stillness. We began in the dark, with the lonely and painful struggle of a mind at war with itself. We diagnosed this modern malady, seeing how our restless, overstimulated, and depleted minds become entangled in the nets of craving and aversion. We then began to learn the art of liberation. We discovered the wisdom of impermanence, the freedom in letting go of control. We found a steadfast anchor in the simple, present reality of the breath. We journeyed through the body, inviting it to release its stored tensions. We learn to soothe the heart with loving kindness, to meet our emotional storms with the gentle rain of compassion, and to befriend our harshest inner critic. We have explored the freedom that comes from embracing imperfection, the power of living in the present moment, the necessity of creating outer and inner sanctuary, and the holistic vision of a life lived with wisdom and integrity. After all this, after all these practices and all this understanding, we must ask a final, crucial question. What is the nature of the stillness we actually seek? What is the ultimate goal of this path? There is a pervasive myth about meditation and inner peace, a misunderstanding that causes countless people to become discouraged and abandon their practice. This myth is the belief that the goal is to achieve a completely empty mind, a state of blissful blankness where no thoughts arise. We sit and we try to stop our thoughts. We try to force our minds to be silent, and, of course, we fail. The thoughts keep coming, the monkey mind keeps swinging, and we conclude, I am no good at this. My mind is just too busy. This struggle to achieve an empty mind is like trying to flatten the ocean with an iron. It is a futile and deeply frustrating endeavor, born from a fundamental misunderstanding of the mind's nature. The mind's job is to produce thoughts, just as the heart's job is to beat. To expect it to simply stop is to be at war with its very essence. The stillness we seek on this path is not the absence of thought. It is a radical change in our relationship to our thoughts. The peace we are cultivating is not an empty, dull, or trance-like state. It is a stillness that is vibrant, lucid, spacious, and fully, brilliantly alive with awareness. The goal is not to stop the noise, but to no longer be disturbed by it. Let us return to the most powerful metaphor for this understanding: the sky and the clouds. For 20 parts, we have been learning, in essence, to shift our identity from the fleeting, turbulent clouds to the vast, unchanging sky. Let us now rest in this image and feel its full implications. The sky itself has certain immutable qualities. It is vast and boundless, with no edge and no center. It is always, eternally present, even on the stormiest day when it is completely obscured by clouds. Its fundamental nature is one of peace and clarity, and, most importantly, the sky is never harmed, bruised, or stained by the weather that passes through it. A hurricane does not break the sky. A thundercloud does not scar it. The sky simply holds it all with an effortless, impartial, and boundless acceptance. Our true nature, our deepest consciousness, is exactly like this sky. Our thoughts, feelings, memories, plans, and sensations are the clouds. They are the weather of the mind. Our practice, in its entirety, is the gradual and patient process of disentangling our sense of self from the passing weather and learning to rest as the vast, open sky of awareness. When we are established as the sky, the noise of the mind is no longer a personal problem. The anxious thought is just a dark cloud drifting by. The flash of anger is just a bolt of lightning. The feeling of sadness is just a passing rain shower. We can watch it all with a detached, compassionate interest, knowing that our essential being, this vast, clear, and peaceful sky, remains completely untouched and unharmed. This is the true nature of inner peace. It is not a fragile state that is shattered by the first difficult thought. It is an unshakable, spacious presence that can hold and embrace all of life's weather. We can illuminate this with another, timeless metaphor. Imagine a deep mountain lake. Its surface is exposed to the elements. When the winds of life blow the winds of stress, of conflict, of loss, of excitement, the surface of the lake becomes choppy. There are ripples, waves, and turbulence. This surface is like the everyday thinking mind. If we live our lives only on this surface level, our experience will be one of constant instability, of being perpetually tossed about by circumstances beyond our control. This is the experience of the agitated mind, a mind that cannot find rest. But no matter how fiercely the wind blows, no matter how chaotic the waves on the surface become, if you were to sink down into the depths of that lake, you would find a place of profound and absolute stillness. Down in the depths, the water is dark, quiet, heavy, and completely unmoved by the turmoil on the surface. Here, there is only silence and peace. Our practice is the art of learning to access these silent depths within ourselves. We do not have to wait for the winds of life to stop blowing. That will never happen. We can find peace while the storm is raging on the surface, by learning to drop our awareness down beneath the endless chatter of our thoughts. Practices like focusing on the breath or scanning the body are not just relaxation techniques. They are methods for sinking. They are anchors that pull us down from the turbulent surface of the mind into the deep, quiet, and stable presence of our embodied being. This deep inner stillness is always here. It is our birthright. We have simply forgotten how to access it. So, let us now reconsider the nature of sleep from this perspective. We began this journey seeing sleep as a destination to be reached, a prize to be won, a problem to be solved. We have seen the futility of this approach. Now, we can see sleep in a new light. Deep, restorative sleep is not an achievement. It is a homecoming. It is the natural and effortless consequence of returning to our own true nature. It is the body's response to the mind finally letting go of its struggle and resting in its own inherent, sky-like peace. When we cease our frantic paddling on the surface of the lake, when we stop trying to control the waves and instead allow ourselves to sink into the silent, welcoming depths, the body and mind, feeling profoundly safe and at rest, will do what they have always known how to do. They will sleep. Sleep, then, is the ultimate surrender. It is the final act of letting go into the vast, silent, and peaceful mystery of our own deepest being. It is not a place we go to, but a truth we return to. It is the deep, dreamless rest of the sky itself after the last clouds of the day have drifted away. We have traveled together on a long and deep journey, a path that began in the lonely darkness of a sleepless night and led us to the vast, open sky of our own awareness. We started by acknowledging the profound suffering of a mind at war with itself, a mind caught in the frantic, restless energy of our modern age. From there, we began to gently diagnose the condition, not with judgment, but with clarity, seeing how the poisons of craving and aversion, of wanting and not wanting, keep us bound to a cycle of struggle. We then discovered the great, liberating truths of impermanence and no self, realizing that the solid self we thought was failing was an illusion, and that our struggles were as transient as clouds. Armed with this wisdom, we learned the practical tools of healing. We found an anchor in the breath, a sanctuary in the body, a medicine for the heart in loving kindness, and a powerful antidote to negativity in the practice of gratitude. We have traveled from a place of desperate control to one of graceful surrender, from fighting our experience to compassionately embracing it all. As our journey together comes to a close, let us distill the essence of this path into a simple, core message. The deep, restorative sleep you have been seeking is not a prize to be won through struggle. It is a gift that is received through surrender. The profound peace you long for is not located in a future time or an external place, not in a pill or an app or a new technique. It has been here all along. It is the very nature of your own mind, waiting patiently beneath the noise of your thoughts. It was never lost. It was only obscured. To embrace stillness is not to force the mind into a state of sterile emptiness. It is to finally discover the unshakable silence that has always existed beneath the surface of your life. A silence that can hold all the noise, all the chaos, and all the weather of your human experience with an infinite and loving patience. You are not broken. You are not a victim of your sleeplessness. You are the sky, vast and whole, and you have simply been identifying with a passing storm. You now hold within you both the map and the compass, the wisdom and the tools to navigate your own inner world with grace and confidence. The power to heal, to find peace, and to come home to yourself resides in your own gentle, compassionate awareness. So be kind to yourself. Be patient. This is not another project to achieve perfection in. Let your practice be imperfect, gentle, and forgiving. Some nights will be easier than others. The path is not a straight line. The journey of 1,000 miles begins, not with a step, but with a single conscious breath. Begin there, begin now.